Let's see you dance! Chemical catalyst rattling, never hazardous. Subdued by all my memories, but never been a pacifist. So quick to put up the fist. It's hard to resist, but I just might lose control. So shoot, and I never do miss. I gotta take risk if I wanna have it all. So let go of the poison, the venom. I'm sending. The voices are spinning with the visions already. Got the pictures of my prophecy. Develop my philosophy. Woke up in the morning, told the world to get back off of me. Yeah, and still the nightmares creeping up at night. I'm a fragment in the mirror, seeing black and white. Like who is me and who is gonna take me over? My soul is my soul in the eyes of the beholder. Yeah, and now there's darkness in the chaos. Try to see the light, hope the positives will pay off. Ain't no time for stressing when the time is of this essence. Take these two fists and swing them back into your direction. Woo! Cause that's the way I got it. And don't it sound a doom, always sounds so melodic. Looking to the future, know the end is coming near. Even though I'm standing tall in the face of all this fear. Clear vision, serving life like a sentence. Gotta stay strong, that's the reason I'm so vicious. A barking dog, take it all, never fall. You ringing for the champ, then I'm the one who get the call. So let me tell you a little something about this life. You can commit to the game and you can commit to fight. But the thing is that with every passing of the night, nobody actually makes it out of this world alive. So what you gotta do is put your powers to the test. Time is passing, so you better swing your time the best. So who you gonna be when the reaper come knocking? Actions speak louder than words, so stop talking. Yeah, so watch me break out of this cage. I fight now, I won't change. Yeah, and it's the passing of the days. So get back and just get up out my way. Yeah, so watch me break out of this cage. I fight now, I won't change. Yeah, and it's the passing of the days. So get back and just get up out my way.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to one of the greatest shows on your Sunday evening. We are back, and it's been a while. It's been a while. It's been about a month or so,
Oh yeah.
maybe even longer, since we last graced the airwaves here from episode 6, man. But episode 6 was very entertaining. We had Alex Dot and Knowledge re-up on the previous episode, but this episode for episode 7, we got two brand new guests stepping up to the plate. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Georgia Street Fighter 5 Scene Community Podcast discussion group. I am your moderator for this event, ShadowAce, and I want to first thank always, of course, SirRetro for agreeing to host this discussion. The reason I assembled you all here this evening is to get your views and opinions on the Street Fighter 5 Georgia scene and Street Fighter 5 in general. The game has been out for what, about 6-7 years now by now, and that's quite a long time. We now got confirmation on when we can expect Street Fighter 6 to drop, 2023. So good times ahead. But each of you may hold different views and then opinions towards the game, the community in general, and this is just an opportunity to express yourself in a constructive manner here. But let's start off first before we get into introducing our panel for this evening. We do have a special giveaway that we are promoting. Special giveaway that we have for, I believe, what, Power Ranger Con tickets, SirRetro. We got some Ranger Con tickets that we're
Yep.
gonna do here for a giveaway.
Yep.
About 2 of them.
Yep. That is correct. So I actually just posted on the stream. You guys see in the chat. We're gonna have a special giveaway for 2 tickets to the Power Rangers Stop and Pop Con that's happening this upcoming weekend. So if you guys are interested in doing the oh yeah. I'm actually about to start the giveaway in just a second. Just give me, but I'm actually start the giveaway. But yeah, once this I started, y'all can do the input on, yeah, do the command on exclamation point giveaway. You get 2 tickets. You can see Jason David Frank, of course, the classic white, yellow Ranger, white, green Ranger, different other Rangers colors from like various series, and of course other famous Rangers from the old and new and recent Power Rangers. And of course, you have fighting game tournaments there like Smash Brothers and Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, and then of course other special guest plans for the whole weekend from Friday through Sunday. 2 free tickets. So I will be starting the giveaway right about now. But back to you, sir.
Yes, yes. And in order to qualify to, well, he's doing a giveaway, just for that for those Ranger tickets. But I do have a special little challenge that I want to give out as well before we get started. And it's just a quick trivia question. Here, if you've been listening to our show, the previous episodes, and we've had different guests, and they've also shared their experiences and stuff in the world of the Street Fighter Five. But one of these particular players in general, they mentioned that they had to do something quite unique just to try to like play casuals at a location. Like I've never heard of this before, and it was the most interesting thing in the world. So basically, the question is, what is the name of the player who did that particular special thing just to play casuals at someone's place at a venue or something? I guess the other clue I can give away would be that this person also recently competed at a tournament. So and that's it. I'm trying to be as vague as possible. I don't want to say anything else to try to get the answer away. But if you know the answer, please tag me on Twitter at Mind of Shadow Ace with the hashtag exclamation mark SF5GA podcast with the answer. If you think you know the answer to the question, and you might get a little something, man. All right. But without further ado, let's first off start by introducing our panel for this evening. I'll go first. My name is Shadow Ace. I am a player and commentator with the Data FGC group. Data FGC was recently at the Combo Breaker streaming Milty Blood, um, Uniclear, and just did an amazing job on production there. So yeah, I'm just a player and commentator. I've been competing and playing for oh man for ages, man. Which seems like my first tournament was back in Vanilla Street Fighter 4. That when I was like that's 2008. So yeah, that was a long time ago. But yeah, man, since then I've been in the FGC scene here in Georgia and just been playing in numerous numerous tournaments. I actually got a box of collection of old badges and stuff like that from all the events that have been happening here in Georgia. So yeah, man, kind of got some years on me, man. Got the gray on me. So yeah, I'm out here, man. But let me introduce our panel that we got this evening. First up, we got none other than Mr. Annual, aka Coach. Talk to the good people.
Hey everybody. Yeah, I go by Coach these days, but my tag for the longest time was MrAnnual. Got to the scene maybe around the time Ace did, about 2009. I was living in Athens at the time, and so I got into Street Fighter 4. I got a PlayStation 3, and I was like, "Oh man, they made another Street Fighter," because I was nostalgic. And then I found out later that the Green Brothers, who were kind of a long time institution in Street Fighter 4, were hosting an event at their home. And so, I got on SRK and told them that where I was, and they gave me the instructions. They actually gave me a funny like a YouTube clip of like going through the woods to get to their house. And I went up there, and this is around right when Super came out. And I went up there, played. I met Marty, the Green Brothers. Goes by EX Maple Syrup now, but Kent, aka Riox, the Guile player. So I met those guys. Like they were like the first people I met, and so played Street Fighter 4. Marty gave me an unforgivable lesson.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that was pretty much it. And then eventually I went to a revival, and that's where I met Dogi Sandwich. And that's after I moved back to Middle Georgia. And then I found out he was from Middle Georgia, and so he invited me over. So that was like when I started getting really into the scene. So that's right now. I guess I'm my competitive career went from like Street Fighter 4 to Guilty Gear Xrd to kind of KOF, but I just kind of dabble in any kind of games. I'm more of a lab rat commentator these days, but that's about it.
Okay. And then second up on the panel here, we got Terrence, aka Soriku 16. Terrence, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Hope everybody's doing well. Well, for me, competitive gaming, I guess the first group of competitive gamers that I was included in was for a game called Clash of Ninja on the GameCube. But then I went through that. Played some Melee. My city, I'm from Columbus, Georgia. It's a Smash city, so played some Melee and Brawl. But how I got into the, I guess, more traditional fighting game FTC in the Atlanta area was I had moved to the area for a job, and I went to the next door office building for lunch, and I saw some people playing Marvel 3, and one of those guys ended up being Max, Blackwork. So it's Blackwork, and I was like, "Oh, can I play?" So we played, and then they told me about some tournaments coming up, and one of the first ones I went to there. After that, I played and ended up doing well. Ace was there. I had beat Musa, and people were like, "Well, who is this guy?" or whatever. And I got the grand finals on winning side, and then Musa ended up bringing it back. But yeah, I was playing. Marvel was the main game, but I did enter a little Street Fighter 4 then. But then got into staying with it. Got into the Street Fighter 5 scene. Did a couple things there, and here we are now, waiting on Street Fighter 6.
Okay, all right. So Max was there. Was your introduction to the scene then? Like you say you met him at
Like
the. Okay.
yeah, like I had seen like a couple of like some of the Battle and Brew events like just off the stream, but I wasn't living here, so I never went to any of that. But I saw Max there, and then yeah, started going to tournaments from there.
Okay. Okay. And then our other production, the man behind the ones and twos, doesn't need no introduction, but we're just gonna introduce him anyway. Sir Retro '08. Yo, Sir Retro, talk to the good people. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right, doing good. As I said, for those who don't know, and those who like to know once again, I am so retro. More of a maybe now a bit of a veteran. It's been about at least 5 years since I've been more directly involved with the FGC. I was part of the Smash community, still am in a sense, and that's been since like 2010. So I kind of like pretty much have a bit of experience in both. But of course, I mainly run the Middle Georgia slash reboot scene, and been of course been running various events. Also try to run sessions to help teach and train players, at least in the beginner and to almost intermediate fundamentals or lessons and whatnot. And then of course yeah, been also doing working with like city officials and various other organizations and so forth. So I also do like I said, producing this, running this event, competing, mainly of course in Street Fighter 5, and also play dabble in Smash Brothers. Pretty much actually everything. Even KOF, Guilty Gear, Tekken, pretty much any fighting game that I can get involved, I'll get into. Um, that's where I'll play. So definitely all around player. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for ShadowAce for helping me be part of this awesome podcast series, and looking forward to more to come.
Oh, for sure, for sure. We're actually nearing in on our season finale of this for season one of the podcast series, and I don't what I had planned for the season finale of this. I don't know if the world is ready for it, but this is trust me, it's probably going to be the most one of the most powerful episodes of the season free. But we'll get into that when the time comes. But for right now, let's get back to our two main guests here that we have today. But thank you all for joining us today for this seventh episode of the series. Last time we had Alex and Knowledge Re-Up give their take on the Street Fighter 5 community and FGC meta in general. So if you guys missed out on that broadcast, you could always please go back and check with that episode on the the Reboot Retrocade Gaming YouTube channel. And it has an archive of all of the episodes, the previous episodes, plus selectable chapters. So if you want to hear a particular subject, it's time stamped, and you just click on it, and it'll take you right to that particular discussion. So yeah, my first question here. Let's go back to Coach. Coach is to Coach, aka Mr. A. You've been around a long time, right, within the FGC in general. And I'm thinking back when was it Vanilla Street Fighter 4 or Super Street Fighter 4 when we met?
It would have been around Super because I didn't go to any events while Vanilla was out.
Okay. Okay, so around Super Street Fighter 4. Okay. So about yeah, because you said 2009, so probably the year out there, but that's still like 10 plus years ago. So you've noticed like over time as far as like the Street Fighter scene changing and developing over time. You've seen players come and go. They may have picked up new hobbies or started families or just careers or just moved out of the state in general. And just nowadays, just a few of us only remain, man. A few of us that's still playing to this day. It's not too many of us. We're kind of dwindling on the last of Mohicans territory, as far as being relics in the scene and still being like active and competing and supporting the scene in general. But my question to you is, how do you foresee the Street Fighter scene here in Georgia as far as it being active as a whole versus like the scene back then in comparison to now? So I'm thinking like 2009 to 2022. Like, how would you compare it back then to what it is now?
So back then, there were obviously a lot more Street Fighter events for four from Super going on. And it's kind of dwindled over the years. Like as Ultra was coming out, the tournaments were kind of sparse. So you have a decent size one every once in a while. But even as Street Fighter 4 was progressing, towards the end where Ultra was out, everything was kind of dwindling to like the most dedicated players. And then when Street Fighter 5 came out, you got that revival. And the same thing happens is it starts to dwindle down to the most dedicated players. But and I feel like that cycle is just kind of natural for any game except for Smash because it just has a huge amount of numbers. So even when people leave, the whole will plug itself up naturally just by sheer numbers. But other games don't have that except to a degree Tekken in Georgia. But back to Street Fighter, I feel like more or less the concepts are the same. But one thing that's changed is the way revivals went. It kind of brought the whole state together. You had people from Savannah, Augusta, Columbus, and everybody were coming up at the time, so you knew everyone else was across the state. You know who was playing these games across the state. So it wasn't just, the Atlanta guys and, the few people who went up there. And that's one of the really big things that's changed. Like some of those scenes are coming back. Like we've had the Augusta scene throwing down and some other stuff going on. But for the most part, that whole state unity is gone, and I
Mm,
feel like that's the biggest thing I've noticed. Other than that, I feel like during the revival days, you had that intense competition, the intense statewide competition. That's what kind of held it together. You had the DMBs, Battle and Brews going every week and all that stuff. So there was always something to do. There was always something to do with Street Fighter or even Marvel, and we even had a strong NRS scene at the time. But as time went by, a lot of those events went, kind of belly up. The venues moved, or they got sick of dealing with fighting game people, and so these are random venues that are hosting these games all the time turn to dedicated people like Marco and Data and Dat Vip and the guys getting together because they want to play Marvel at Wasteland. And so you had these dedicated people running events at this point. It wasn't just like these venues just throwing them. And so when that transition kind of happened, you kind of needed to start having kind of like a core or an ambassador for your scene. And what I mean by that is like, Gwinnett Brawl was Marvel's core. You had the same group of people who had that same energy for the game at all times. And so if someone's interested in Marvel, you came up to me, you hadn't seen the scene, you're like, hey, man, I see you playing Street Fighter, but I'm a Marvel guy. Hey, I would just point you over to, Darius, Musa, and all of them and be like, oh, that's where that is. That's where you go do it.
mm,
And that kind of thing is harder and harder to find these days. If someone comes up to me and goes, I gotta get some Street Fighter 5 and I want to be one of the best, I go, well, you can go to 404 and hope they, have a tournament going or someone's doing casuals, but I can't point them to specific energy. There's even a point in
mm,
time where like KB, aka King Birdie, was like running events out of his home. He was an ambassador, right? He would get people together, he would keep people communicating. And so I could go, hey, go see this dude right here, KB, and he'll get you settled in. He'll rope you into the online lobbies. He'll get you going with events or something like that. That's also the second thing is missing. There's no outside of Tekken and Smash in Georgia. I can't be like go there and do this. Maybe like BB Tag with the Forsyth guys, but that's kind of like an edge case in his own way. But like for as far as like I want to get on the grind. I love this game. I want to get into a community. I can't really point at something very specific that has the energy for that game these days. And I think that's where a lot of that thing is kind of dwindling down. And it's hard to be that kind of ambassador. Like someone like SirRetro here is that ambassador for people in making. And it's more of a general thing rather than specific games. It's people coming in, they want to get involved, be with community, learn, make friends, and play these games, and that's really good. But for like that specific game energy where you have people like, driven to varying degrees. Some people want to be the best, some people just want to grind, some people just, love the game, whatever the case is. But to me, those are the two things that are missing. And then I think with Street Fighter 6, hopefully, I think while 404 is good, you do need a hub or somebody to kind of tie it together, or a group of somebodies. And so I hope I can see that in the next game coming up.
And to a credit to what you just described, as far as like having more access to resources and venues back then versus now, and I think it also has like it will probably like stem from we had final round, right? Final round was the big major here in Georgia, and I felt like once we lost that, or like once the spirit of the competition kind of faded away from that, that's when I noticed the decline in wanting to play and get better and things like that, because they had a reason to compete at this big grand major that was held in our state, where players would travel out of state and even out of country just to come here to compete. And there what Shin Blanca would always say, defend this house, defend this house, you got to defend this house, and unfortunately in the Street Fighter scene we would come up short. I think some of our players would make maybe top 16. I think Adam actually, Neon Verte actually made top 8. Did he make top 8 or top 16? Oh my
It was
god.
top 8. Adam made
Okay.
a
Hey,
really good run that year at final round against the
Okay.
Japanese players. And then before you had Dragon Ball Joseph and Ramen Addict do really well in top 8 in Street Fighter 4.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So we had players that were on the cusp of breaking in and possibly getting into that top 3 spot, but for the most part, it was always that defend this house, and people would celebrate, man. People would celebrate just for getting out of pools, because getting out of pools back then was just insanely hard. It was a different atmosphere, man. The competitive grind was hard. Just learning, just learning and trying to grow as a player in general was just a completely different experience versus now. It's kind of like a dead zone. It's kind of like a dead zone. It's like a desert almost. And like you said, you wouldn't be able to tell, or if somebody was like looking for something to try to level up or grind at, you could maybe point them towards 404 esports. But even then, if you were there, it would be scarce to try to find games to try to compete and level up in. Well, when's the next tournament? When's the next tournament? For a while here in the state, there was no Street Fighter 5 tournaments. Like for like over a year and some change. Like, well, since the pandemic began, and even before that, the numbers were kind of like small, were very small. And for someone to keep trying to play and level up, it's difficult, because you comparing it there and now. That's like comparing apples and oranges. It's two different worlds. But we're trying to slowly repair that. You mentioned KB, how KB was like the ambassador of trying to get people together and trying to make the scene go, get stronger. And he's actually doing that, man. He actually has a brand out for Ham Gaming. He offers services outside of just gaming, but I think it'll help you. I think those particular type of services will help you as far as like your mental psyche and confidence towards playing a game, because he tries to help you out as far as like dating services and stuff is concerned. Um, but yeah, man, yeah, we're trying to make sure that the next, because we saw a lot of new players. We're starting like the last couple of events that we tried to do. We saw a lot of new players, like players I've never seen before, and we need to. And they were young too. They were young guys, and we need to make sure those guys have a ground to stand on for Street Fighter 6, because they're going to be representing us in this state. So I think it'll be our due diligence as the older generation to try to like pass off that knowledge so we can at least try to keep the scene alive, man. But good insight though, man. Good insight, Mr. Annual, on that particular question. But let me go over to Terrence. Um, Terrence, so do you remember Red Bull Proving Grounds with KB and Ice Effect?
Yeah, I
Okay.
remember that.
Okay. All right. You three got chosen to represent for the GA region. Was it just the Georgia state or just like the area, like the surrounding states? Was it just Georgia?
I, bel- but what the first one, I guess you could say, was more than Georgia because it. I mean, I don't think the first one Florida had one or any of the surrounding areas, but I mean,
Okay.
yeah, it was mainly here. A lot of people from Georgia, Alabama came out. Alabama definitely came for that.
Okay. o- Okay. Yeah. So you three got chosen to represent the region in Washington. Was it Washington D.C. for the finals? Right. Yeah. It was
This one
I
was
think that
in
was
Southern California.
okay. California. Okay. So what was that entire process like? Like how did that go? Like I know they flew you guys out. You guys stayed in the hotel. But during that time when you were most active and you're competing, what was that? What was going through your mind as far as like being able to be selected to do something like that?
Oh yeah, thought that was a great opportunity. Like like Mr. Annual was saying, like if there wasn't a really a central hub for Street Fighter anymore, I missed the revival days, so I didn't get to experience that. But when Southeast Battles came, that was the first time I actually seen people from like Athens and Augusta come up and meet them. So I felt like Southeast Battles, when that was going on, definitely gave the Street Fighter scene that unity that was probably missing towards the tail end of Street Fighter 4. And also we had Gwinnett Brawl, but I don't remember as many people coming up there. It seems like people didn't really want to waste this opportunity that Red Bull was giving us. So yeah, that was good. This was I mean, yeah, I didn't want to waste the opportunity. I mean, it was free trip to Cali. I've never been. I could represent the scene. I thought that was great, and actually um, being in that was my first time flying, so um, that was nice too. And I mean, Red Bull, they treated us well. We had to rehearse some things and make some promo. Getting to experience all that was cool, and then we had a dedicated casuals area. That was good. I feel like they run some good events, and just playing in the production room though, that was a different experience. I mean, it was pretty cold, cameras in your face. This this was that was kind of weird, and of course it was like one of my first time um like playing like with a lot of people watching like that, like on the stream. So I was definitely nervous, but I believe it was a good experience. That first one we didn't we didn't do too hot at all, but it was some good exposure for the newcomers of the scene. Since I mean, me, KB, and Ice Spec, I mean, all three of us were relatively new to the scene. Maybe not Ice Spec. I don't know if he played in Street Fighter 4 tournaments, but yeah. But I feel like it was definitely good for us. I mean, after that, we we started going to major events and doing well and getting better each year. And so some of us fell off at stopped playing as much at different times, but I think that was a good good thing to have in the beginning of a Street Fighter.
Hmm. Okay. Do you think they should bring that back for Street Fighter 6? Like that entire um that process? Like well the whole circuit for it?
Definitely, yeah. It's I mean just so we can have something supplementary to the CPT because I mean we have SFL, but that's not like an open bracket type team event. I like the team structure of of Red Bull, since it was 3 per game, and it was open, so you got to qualify into it to represent your state. Where SFL is more of a uh, turned into more of an esports. What team you'll represent instead of what Red Bull is more of a what region you represent.
Mhm. Yeah, and the competitive drive for the game was at an was at an all-time high because like a lot of people wanted to represent and go out of the state, but you three were chosen. You three were chosen. I think was it through like a ranking leader system, like as far as like points for placing in events.
Yeah, if you want
Yeah.
for each of the Southeast battles, for every I think it was up. They changed it throughout the year, but um I think the first 2 years it was if you made top 8, you got assigned a certain amount of points for what you placed. But then that eventually turned to in the later years you win the event, you go, because it wasn't it didn't turn into 3 people per game. The last two was if you win, you're the representative for Street Fighter Five of this region. But then you also have a representative for I think the other game was Under Night, and then it was Tekken. So yeah, it and that was also different. But yeah, I definitely think that gave us something to actually fight for, and get the recognition and make some good money. Just starting from in your scenes. That was a real nice experience.
Yeah, I would think something. Yeah, I definitely think something like that is much needed, just for the scene because I think that's how a lot of people find out, even just starting out to compete, knowing that they can potentially have an opportunity to travel out of state or travel to, um, you know, uh, wherever location may be to just to play their favorite hobby or game, and they'll tell their friends to tell about it, and their friends might compete, and then it just keeps it like it's like a chain effect. You tell a friend to tell a friend, and they tell a friend, and the next thing you know, you got a group of the friends coming out to an event to support you because you're on the verge of qualifying just to be able to go out to state, and then the celebration party would be crazy if you would manage to hit that goal. And I think something like that is definitely needed to spark a fire for the Street Fighter 6 scene, especially if you're new into the area and you're just trying to look for games, and you find out through social media or somebody might tell you, hey, look, they got this tournament circuit going on. It's a qualifying ranking event. If you get a certain amount of points, you'll get sponsored to go out and represent the state at this final event, like that. Especially since we don't have final round anymore. It kind of just it changed completely because I think we had that, and then we had on top of that we had final round, and then on top of that, we had the other venues too that were hosting events that will constantly keeping players fresh, as far as staying in shape for the game. Now, because that particular aspect is gone, the interest kind of like dwindled a bit here and there. But speaking of interest dwindling here and there, so and this is a very important question here for you, Terrence, of course. What changed for you not wanting to play the game as much as you did back then? Because when KB was on the podcast through earlier episodes, he mentioned that you guys grinded heavy for that and played a lot back then. So, what changed between you just not even wanting to press start and dealing with CFN's nonsense?
You just said it right there. I mean that's that's mainly it. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I mean, I started off as an online warrior. I that's my thing. I love I can level up and just grind at home. Also with coming out to tournaments and playing with other people. But when the pandemic started and all I had was online, and with CFN not being so stable, I mean, one day I could play somebody and it'd be fine, and the next day I play the same person and it's horrible. The stability not being there was really really got to me, and I just didn't feel like um really dealing with it, and
Mm,
I felt like I'm I guess one thing that really showed me like how different it was, where it was like I would play some people that I just played offline like within the same week and go online, and it was like a completely different experience. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I know the answer to this situation or whatever, but just because we changed environments, it's not suitable anymore. And I was just like, nah. And even if I won in certain situations, it didn't feel good. So I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I tried. I did do the CPT online for the in year 2020, but definitely wasn't practicing as much as I was before, and so I just decided um to not to not even do it, since I wasn't having fun anymore. That's the simple answer. I wasn't having fun with it anymore, and
mm,
there are other games that I can and was having fun with online. So I I just stopped since it became an only online affair. But yeah, I mean, like KB
mm.
said early on, I mean, especially him, he would pull 12-hour days because he was working from home. He was super grinding. But yeah, we used to try to hit up all the online tournaments, and to play a lot online. He used to have a Master Ring Monday. I mean, like like Coach said earlier, he was the guy for Street Fighter Five in Georgia. I mean, he had the first to 100 series. He used to just have
The king of the grill.
yeah, King of the Grill. Used to have people come over his house just to play, and we would watch each other play rank and
Hmm.
analyze. I mean, he was the guy. I mean, and he still is. He's the only one doing monthlies for Street Fighter Five right now. But yeah, I think when Street Fighter Six comes out, I mean, I'll definitely be back in full force. I can't. I have my Street Fighter cravings every now and then, so I'm definitely ready to hop back into it. And I think the scene in general will definitely follow suit. We'll hit the
Hmm.
ground running with it. Because I mean, as we've seen, I mean, I came in at the tail end of Street Fighter 4, and I think one of the last events I went to for that, they had like 10 people. And then, we were looking at the past Gwinnett Brawls, like the first Gwinnett Brawls for Street Fighter 5 a couple months ago, and we saw we had like 120 people. So, I mean, new games will bring that, but we're still in the pandemic, so we'll just have to see how that goes. But yeah,
Yeah, I feel like the first Street Fighter Six tournament is going to pretty much lay the foundation, or literally the blueprint for the next 4 to 5 years on how the scene will develop and glow. And I remember back when it was the Street Fighter Four, like during the very first Street Fighter Four tournament that was had, it had a lot of people too. I've been trying to find the link for the bracket. I think I don't know if it was Challenge, it was on Challenge or Smash EG, but I think it was on Challenge. But for the bracket for that, but I know it had a ridiculous amount of people like entered just for that game. Of course, half of those names are gone. So and the same thing for Street Fighter Five. When the first Street Fighter Five tournament dropped at Gwinnett Brawl, what did it break? You said 100 and something for the
yeah,
for
120
entrance.
people. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So, and then some of those names, look, I was looking at the names the other day, like me and KB was talking about it, and I was just looking at. I was like, "Yo, who is this? Who is this? Who is this?" I was like, I don't even remember them. I don't remember this person. Who are they? Right?
yeah,
And I was like, "Yo," and I was wondering, like, "Yo, they're either still in the state or they're not in the state." So it's a 50-50 chance for where they could be currently in this situation. So I'm like, what happened to that person? Like, did they just want to try the game out? They just just wanted to test out what it would be like in a tournament environment, just sample it. But again, um, I think that the launch of Street Fighter Five was, of course, abysmal. It was it didn't have a lot of resources and tools for players to try to get better. It didn't even have the trial mode in it, so you could at least practice the combos to see how your characters will work. Um, so a lot of people just had to freestyle and just be creative on what they know, and I guess rely on like what Twitter clips or some type of YouTube clip or something to see how combos will work in that game. So it was a rough few months for the transition of that. But I think a few players, the good players, they grind and leveled up, and like you said, you and KB guys did a lot of leveling up and grinding too, so you guys were ahead of the pack. But someone who was a casual, who was just coming in to trying to get to that level where you guys were, different mindset. So they may not have had access to somebody who was willing to train with them and help them level up and stuff. So it was a bit different. The learning curve was a bit different. Um, Versus now, I think now the game, of course, is in a better state. They have trial modes, challenge modes. They have resources and tools that can help players get better, and they can understand how combos and stuff work. So I think had everything released as the game is now at launch, we would have had we definitely would have had a big difference as far as people still being interested in playing the game. And then of course, you added in CFN, the Capcom Fighters Network. Now that's something that they got to get right out the gate. Like for Street Fighter 6, it is absolutely mandatory. And of course, we're still in the pandemic, so there's still going to be a few people that they just don't want to be in that environment or just be around a lot of people or just not as comfortable. Anxiety might take over, and they just want to just be in that home environment. Well, there's an option. There's an option. There's Street Fighter 6, but Street Fighter 6 has to make sure that that net code is on point, or it's going to be in trouble. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. A little again. It's still fresh in the oven. I think everybody's still coming down from reviewing the trailer. And shout outs to the people who've been leaking and spoiling the game. It would have been nice to be surprised on some of the characters, but it is what it is. We had Street Fighter Five. Uh, we mentioned KB earlier. We had Street Fighter Five one more round, which was kind of like a revival of trying to get people to come out and play at 404 Esports here. So we the first round one winner was Alex Dot Dot with their Blanca, and we just we tried to we tried to promote it and like, oh, y'all let a Blanca win the tournament in Georgia. Oh, y'all suck. And, just friendly banter and stuff like that. Just to try to get more people to come out. And then we had Milo Meds coming out on the second one. He was the second champ, and then now Neon is the third champ of this particular series. So we decided to have this like once a month. Bi-weekly, out of the question. Weekly, definitely out of the question. I think one weekend a month is going to be great for this, and yeah, we're just going to keep trying to push it to just get it one weekend a month, just based on everybody that's been entering. And as far as our numbers go, we even changed the times, and we still couldn't get the numbers, but it's all good. Um, but that particular event, it showed us that there are people out there that are still playing this here in this scene, and I've seen some new players. That's huge. That's huge. There was some new names and new faces, especially on the younger side. So we need to, make sure to keep the fire going for Street Fighter 6 because those players are going to be heralds for the scene. When we eventually pass the torch and put the sticks down for good, those are the players that are going to retain these memories. Hey, I remember this person from back in Street Fighter 5, and flash forward 4 to 5 years from now, they will remember you running sets with them, and then they could be like, oh yeah, this person I remember, they trained with me, they talked to me and stuff like that. They made me welcome in the scene, and that's how they're going to foster that. That's how they're going to foster and experience their memories there. But I mean, we come from two different worlds, man. From being an older player, and seeing the younger generation now, it's two different worlds. So we got to make sure that their growth is fostered, and we want to make sure the environment is welcoming when Street Fighter 6 drops. I know it's difficult because of the pandemic, but I think that because we have that resource, because we do have that particular venue. Now think about this: if 4-4, if 4-4, God forbid, if 4-4 had closed its doors, the scene would be done. The scene would be done outside of what Data FGC, outside of Reboot. Those particular community events, it just wouldn't be as active as it is now. Like as far as being having the ability to go offline to a location if you don't want anybody to be at your home or something to play and compete. So you have that particular option to go to this venue and run casuals and sets and stuff. So we just using. I mean, we have to try to make sure we can keep that venue. Try to use that venue to get these players in here and make sure they have a spot for when Street Fighter 6 drops, and we'll just see how it goes from there. But we'll do we'll see what happens when that time comes. But let's move on to the next subject here. As we gonna look at take a closer look at some tournaments here that we've had here. I think the most recent one that had good numbers was the first Street Fighter 5 One More Round was a few months ago, and then before that, Terrence, we played at the Cherry Blossom Festival in Macon, um, and I think that had about 10 entrants, 10 or so. How many did it have? About 10 or 12.
Uh,
I think it was about like, yeah, it was more than. I think at least. I think no, it was 12. I think it was 12. 'Cause I
It
remember
was
like
12.
some of the data players. Of course, half. Oh no, our guys was filled up like at least 8, and then you, Kraken,
10.
Terrence. It was. Y'all was the only 3 from Atlanta that came down, right? I think.
Yeah, it was me. I think
Yeah.
yeah, me and Terrence were the only
Yeah,
ones
it was
like outside.
yeah, I think about 12 because I know I competed as well. Me, Ricardo,
Okay.
yes, maybe 1 or 2 Tekken players I think enter. Yeah, so we. Oh yeah, the guys from Millersville, and then you actually have a player from Atlanta as well who plays on Dan, and they have a Fong player from Millersville. So yeah, we have a variety.
then the Geef player.
Yeah, so he actually lived in Atlanta and moved
Oh,
down here to Warner Robins.
oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Databank, yeah. He actually was in Kennesaw for school and for a while, and then he moved out here about last year, I believe. And yeah, oh yeah, he's right now he's our current champion for Street Fighter. He been beating everyone, all of our local, all of our guys here. He been consecutively a champion for the past 2 3 tournaments at least at Reboot and yeah at Reboot. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and he's another relatively new guy. I mean, how long has he been coming out?
So he started coming out to our tournament for last. He started out last year, actually, almost about a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in July it'll be a year since I remember first seeing him, and that's the guy who brought his entourage. That everywhere he goes, he had 20 people with him, and I always have videos of them just to prove how many people he brings, and it's like co-workers, friends, everything. Yeah, but like he knows how to play Zangief. He knows like Zangief weaknesses and stuff like that. He, of course, at the year Boston it shows that he's still got a lot of learning to do, but he's a very strong player and consistently been like dominating like with Zangief, and people know, and like I said, we knows how to play against Zangief, but he knows, yeah. So
Okay. How was the how was you guys recently did a local down there in your area for Reboot?
yep.
Yeah, I wasn't able to go to that. But how was that event?
It was great. So actually,
How
was
much one he won?
he won that one? He won the one. Yeah, he won that one. He won the one before Cherry Blossom. But yeah, but right now we have a rivalry of a sort. Because we have an Akali player, from I believe Warner Robins as well. Named Beat Symphony. Shouts to him. So the thing is, they both made their debut in the tournament scene in Reboot last year, and as you know, it always been those two back and forth, like how Terrence and Neon used to be at our tournaments. Is now we have our own back and forth group of people players, and they've been back and forth from first and second, third, first, second, whatever. There's only one point where you had one player that kind of stepped in between from who was like a veteran for us, and then they both beat him. But the best thing about it is like in the end you hear the cheering for this one person, cheering for the other person, and all the matches like it never be a 3-0 or 2-0 whatever. It always be back and forth. Like that's how it's been in the Kali Zangief, and you just see yeah. So we actually have a legit rivalry, and they don't talk trash to each other at all. That's the most interesting part. But you can see in their play style and how they play each other, and then how they feel after they win or loss. Like yeah, but we had 9 players, and I played on Databang at one point, at least 40 matches, only won 4 using G, and did the Cardo play to himself because I was like, okay, I'm gonna see how well he really knows all his matchups and everything. But yeah, and same with the college player beat Symphony because they also take part in the exhibition series. So they really like showcase. They really are legit strong players that we have in our scene. And I'm not going to discredit even our Blood and Ben or Ruby Fox or Decardo, Big Boss DP, whatever. No, like I said, they're still solid players too. Just now these new guys coming in, they just like taking over, and all you going and it's now almost a status quo. You're going to see, one beat Symphony and or Databank in the top 3, no matter what.
Mm. It feels like deja vu all over again, man. This is sounding like something that's going on in like a pocket dimension or something. Because it sounds exactly the same as what was going on with Terrence Neon Ice Effect. Like it was kind of always a rotation between them. So now y'all got that same energy going on down there in your scene. So I was like, I'm listening to you, and I'm like, yo, this sounds exactly
right.
like that. I was like, that is wild. Wow.
Because even better now, even more now. Actually, we actually have now Tekken players. Now they're actually former Tekken players that gave up on Tekken and they now start playing Street Fighter. Chambliss, who was a big Tekken player, he now plays Guilty Gear and he plays Street Fighter. Life in Hyena or C-Pain, where they called him back then, he was a Tekken player, MK player. He now plays Lucia in Street Fighter, and now he's trying to learn that game. So so like it's really interesting now at the very late end of Street Fighter, you see like have our Tekken players, even some of our Guilty Gear players and Dragon Ball players are now like, hey, I want to play this in Street Fighter. Which character should I start in? And me and Big Boss DP and a few others who know the game, especially me, I would like, hey, well, try it out this, and we'll play this. Of course, we also have newcomers like FGC Chris, who plays Jiri and Sagat. We have so they have, like I said, at least 3 or 4 more new players for Street Fighter scene, and it's like interesting to see. You expect the scene to die down in Reboot because I'm like, well, we may do Street Fighter, or we may not do much of it. But what happened as a result is that since the pandemic, and then since with chatting with the Augusta scene, we've been having online events with them, and I've been having our players to play with them, to train with them, because we had no DJ. We have Fun Lee TV. Funly TTV, who plays also Chun Li. So we learned like how to play against the Augusta players, and that kind of like sparked some of our players from outside of our area, like even like Evernight, who's a Poison player, and he lives in 20 minutes away from us. He's come down, and he was bopping the people with Poison, and we were like, who is this character? Who's this person? So now he's pretty much now part of the scene that plays Street Fighter and more Guilty Gear. But we have, it just since then it was interesting because you would expect the pandemic to have the decrease of numbers, render decrease of numbers in the scene, And for us, in particular, I'm not sure what happened, but it went to an interesting decrease, especially for Street Fighter, because now Tekken now is like more of a lesser representative scene than it is with Street Fighter and Guilty Gear and other games. So yeah.
Wow, man, it's while we up here, we're on cruise control up here, man. You guys are out there grinding and just leveling up, man. And love to see it. Love to see it, man. I'm so glad that your scene is prospering so well down there, and I hope that it continues to foster and grow, and start off strong in Street Fighter 6. So good stuff, man. Big shots to SirRetro, Mayor of Macon, and the whole Macon scene down there for holding it down, man. But speaking of traveling, because I know, because yeah, just to getting down to Macon, it's about. It feels like like the drive, because I always say this, like every time I go down there, I always say this. It's like at least 2 hours for me.
Really?
Because because it feels like going to South Carolina.
Wait, so how far do you? Because for us going to like Gwinnett Brawl or even to the data tournaments at the time, like it was like an hour for us at least. I mean, I don't drop that fast, but still, you know, yeah.
Well, I would say because of traffic, because it's always
No, even with
because
traffic, even with traffic, at the most it feel like 1 hour 30 minutes was not too bad. But yeah,
Which road you taking?
I go straight on I-75. That's the thing.
You going straight up? See, all right. See, my GPS probably telling me to take a left. I'm in the country. I'm in the woods somewhere. I see a family
Oh,
that one family Dollar Tree that's on the side of the
yeah.
road. It's taking me in the shortcuts and stuff. And oh
Oh,
god,
I
I'm not
got
even on
you.
the highway.
Yeah, but yeah,
Damn,
yeah,
body.
no matter what, because yeah, we used to go to Gwinnett Brawl, and when I bring like 5 people with me, go straight down I-75. It'd be a little traffic stop here and there, but we still, of course, we leave early, but still, like even the flow of traffic don't feel extremely bad. And even if there's like a huge like rush hour type of thing, we get there in an hour 30. So yeah, I didn't
Okay.
really expect people to come down 2 hours. So, okay, I'll say this before we move on. There is a player that recently he's those Tekken player. Somehow he be coming to our tournaments from Augusta. He actually came to our tournament in Augusta from Augusta within an hour.
Hmm?
Yeah,
How is that
exactly.
possible, dude?
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to figure out. The thing is, though,
This man flying.
yeah, it's, so he
Posted in
did
the
say.
Discord. I drive fast. That's it.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
this man got the need. This man coach got the need for speed, man. Look at that.
but then the thing about it though, after the tournament, because he came to, yeah, he came. He actually is from Macon, actually. He is from Macon. So, but the thing is though, after the tournament, I didn't ask him about where he's from. I was like, oh, okay, we have tournaments here and stuff on this type of thing. We try to do this type often. He's like, okay, cool, and he's in the Discord. And then when the next few days later, I was like, hey, we're gonna do like a little session. You wanna come down? Oh yeah, yeah. I'll be in an hour. I was like, where are you from? Oh, it's like, oh, I live in Augusta. And I'm like, I've been going to the Augusta for the Augusta tournaments. I know it takes at least 2 hours. And I actually put up the map and the calculations and everything. And I was like trying to figure out in my head. I mean, like, I drive fast, like Coach said. But
Hey,
yeah,
you guys see, man, I drive like an old turtle, man. I'm taking my time. I'm listening to some good tunes,
right.
and I'm just
Yeah.
flowing, man.
But
I'll be in the slow lane. You guys got it.
but but the thing is, he's a new player as well, and he didn't know there's an Augusta scene. But he'd been coming down to our stuff and just to even play a session for a few hours and go back home. Like
Oh
just
wow.
yeah, he was willing to travel that far just to go to a scene and play.
And traveling, man, he's a warrior, man, a world warrior, man. And you know what? That actually segues into my next question. And Coach mentioned that he has a need for speed, so I think this will work out perfectly for him. So Coach, man, let me ask you this question. And I know nowadays it's a bit different. With as far as like traveling, just traveling out of state in general. Um, like traveling expenses needed to attend an out of state major, because it can be quite an expensive venture just to get to one event, and then you get another, you get another major that comes up like 3 months after the one you just came from. And the fact that some people can actually afford to do that and travel so much is just incredible. Just one event, I'm just thinking is at least 1,000, man, at least a stack. Just to get to one event. You know, you got hotel, you got gas, you got food, souvenirs. You want to take something home from your trip. And my question to you, Coach, is how? So yeah, that's actually a good question. This actually is a good question because your name is Coach. So let me ask you, how would you coach somebody into making sure that they're well prepared to travel to an event, and like an expense wise?
Oh man. So that I drive fast comment, that was about that Augusta guy Kurt was talking about. But so
Yeah.
I've been to, I've driven to events, and I've flown to some events. I won't say I'm like the most, weathered warrior or anything, because I didn't go to a lot of East Coast stuff, but I went to Combo Breaker, Texas Showdown and stuff. So I generally did it alone because I'm fortunate enough to have those kinds of funds available. But generally, for like Combo Breaker, I would see who else in Georgia was going, and then I would split the room 4 or 5 ways, try to get other people going. That's the big thing you want to do is like when you get the announcement, and it's, you can put your name out there, see if someone else needs a room, or you can get the room yourself and then try to get others involved in it. So the big thing, that's one of the big things, and you decide if you're gonna fly or drive. Because I know the data guys, when they go to these events, they drive, and they can include people who don't have like a lot of disposable funds for that kind of thing. So that old school kind of, we got to get together and go to places is kind of weaker than it used to be, because as I know, Iceman and them, they used to do that kind of thing too when they would go to KIT and whatnot. And so like that kind of thing needs to kind of come back a little bit more as the events start rolling back out. Is so like if ECT comes out and you really want to go play whatever game, you go see other people in your scene. They might not play the same game as you, and you may not be super familiar with them. Just make sure you get along with them to some degree. You talk to them and say, hey, if I were to rent an SUV, can we split it, X amount of ways? And if we need a hotel room, we can get a hotel room. So that's the biggest thing. But events, due to the pandemic and just as the economy changes, it gets more expensive to get a hotel and to fly. The gas is definitely outrageous right now. So like the prices are always been going up. There's actually a dude in Alabama, Anotech, who's actually talking to Dogi about this. It's like even before all the stuff started happening, he's like, these tournaments are gradually pricing out people who don't have that much money. And so
Mm.
that's the part of the thing you really got to think about is community. So if you don't have that kind of thing, like where you would just travel, I'm gonna put points on my credit card and it'll come back to me anyway, that kind of thing. Not everyone has access to that. So you got to get together with your community, and that kind of ties back in a lot of stuff I was saying earlier about having a core, an ambassador. You got to have people who you feel comfortable relying on, talking to, getting together, not just to level up your game, but to get to these events to figure stuff out. If I'm playing a Street Fighter 5 actively, and I go to Texas Showdown and the Chun beats me, I should be able to go, hey Terrence, I don't know what to do, man. And he sits me down and says, "Look, man, we gonna play this. You got any questions? Da 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 da." And after that, only the best of the best should be beating me, and that kind of thing. And that's not the point. I'm only saying Terrence because he's right here in the call, but in general, right? That's the kind of thing communities are there for, and sometimes the community has gotten lost in the sense of people trying to hit it big. And that's not me, crapping on them, because if you want to be like a content creator, you want to try to be a name or something, that's what your goal is. That's what your goal is. But a lot of people have kind of stepped away from that. So I think you got to really think about what it means to be in your community with people who share your interests, like-minded people who you can get along with, obviously. And if you want to be a traveler, you want to go to these events, you can go to Chicago assuming that you got your work stuff and family stuff settled, because everyone's situation is different. You can only take so many days off, and you have somebody you need to take care of, kids, someone with an illness, a pet. But once you have that all settled out, you get together with your community and say, "Hey, I want to go to Combo Breaker this year. That's the big tournament. I've been grinding Street Fighter 5 like crazy. I've been grinding Guilty Gear like crazy." You go talk to the other guys. Oh, hey, those guys playing under night. They're going to Combo Breaker. Those three guys get in the car, and you go talk to them. They're like, hey, you come in there. You can ride. You split it. We can split the gas and stuff. That's how you ease that burden. And plus, if you're definitely familiar, like the people in your city and people you have a rapport with, that makes it even better because you can go to the event, not only save money, but you can have a lot less stress because you have people you can talk to, hang out with. It's always good to meet new people, but it's also always good to have a solid rock of familiarity that you can hang out with, talk to, do things with. And so if you want to travel, get together with your community. I probably said it about 10 times, but it's that important. Talk to people. Save up what you can, because I know, again, everyone's situation is different. Some people don't have the opportunity to save as much, but see what you can do as quick as possible, because time is usually of the essence. Try to get together, make some plans with people, and yeah, some people will unfortunately flake, but if you get with people who've been in there a long time, talk around, get to know people, it generally becomes a thing. Because like even for CEO, I've been seeing some of my friends who play KOF. They're asking around like, "We need a room. We need to talk." And then 2 weeks later, they're like, "We got a room. We're going. We got a ride." So that kind of thing. That's what I would say to that.
Okay. All right. And yeah, same question to you, Terrence. What advice would you give to somebody like as far as like wanting to travel and compete out of state, like as far as expenses, how should they prepare themselves to try to get to a major?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Coach said. I mean, yeah, traveling in a pack definitely helps out. I mean, you start with your scene, and you know some people there. Try to see who is going and who's not, and maybe y'all can room up or just travel there together in general. Like, I mean, I believe every time I've went to an event in North Carolina, maybe except once, like I've ridden a bus with somebody twice with Poke Chop. I met some of the second scene that way, and then once, we all went up there for a TFC, and Marco drove. You were there, Ace. I mean, we had multiple rooms, but that was a good way to get a lot of people there. So that's good, and
Mhm.
also like if you have to fly or do anything, definitely plan in advance. Things are cheaper usually if you get it, weeks or a month or so in advance. And I mean, I wouldn't recommend this, but there's a couple times that I've I've been like the only person in the Street Fighter 5 team going to an event, and I stayed in some. I tried to find the cheapest hotel. You want to be safe too, because I've stayed in some sketchy places. But
Oh,
but yeah, just try to book it early and find somewhere like a chain hotel that's well known, and see if you can find any deals or anything going on. But yeah, everything coach said, try to travel together, and once you get out to those events, it's good to network because, I mean, now for me, I could go to an event myself. I know people from, New Jersey, New York, wherever. I know people that, I'd be comfortable to room with. Not like a lot. I'm one of those people who don't like the room with like a lot of people, but I've, met some people that I'd be comfortable to room with. So, it that definitely helps too. So yeah,
yeah.
group
That.
up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Did you have more?
that's it. Yeah, I was just saying,
Okay.
yeah, grouping up.
Just traveling. Yeah, just traveling can be it can be a tiring process. It can because, like Coach said, you do have to be careful about like flaking. Um, you have to be careful about the people you try to room with. You have to be just aware of your surroundings in general. I would say the best advice I would have, because I know majors nowadays are a bit expensive. Hell, just for a competition, like just for a badge itself is like almost $100 just for the badge. And I remember back in the day, it was probably like only $40 or $50 to try to get into an event, not including the game fee. I'm just talking about just the competitor's badge for the 3 days. Nowadays, it's 100. So it's definitely the price has gone up some. What you like, what you want to do, just for advice wise, is just plan out in advance. I know things can always change, but if you're able to, like when majors and stuff go say, oh, we're now registration is now live for this event and that and the third, and they offer you like hotels and stuff, register now to save this much, get this discount at this rate, while supplies last. See, go ahead and book it if you think you have. I mean, if you have the funds available, go ahead and just book the room. At worst, you can just cancel when the time comes, but at least that way you'd have the room locked in as a rate, because you don't want to event. You don't want to be like 2 or 3 weeks before the event even starts, and then they say, "Oh, hotels are now sold out," or the rate is now changed to this much. The rate increased from 100 to 150 now. It's 150 more expensive now for the room. You at least want to try to lock in a good rate. Once you do that, then of course see how your work goes as far as like putting in PTO, personal time off. See what the scheduling is for that. If you have the hours available to do it, go ahead and just lock it in. Put the request in, and at least that way, if you do get rejected, oh well, I got rejected, I won't be able to go. But if you do get it approved, at least that way, you have the time approved off, you have your hotel booked. Just set aside a fund, man. Just every week or so, if you have to set aside $10 or something until the event comes, then I guess do that. Then just make sure you have funds available, because you want to have a good time. You want to make sure that if you go to this event, you're going to have some money to buy souvenirs. You're going to have some money to get food and things of that nature. And of course, rooming with people, you save more, of course, when you room with people. But when you room with people you don't know, it's kind of like it's kind of a sticky situation if you rooming with somebody you've never met before. But as long as I guess I would say, as long as you trust the person who initially hooked you up with the room, and just be on your P's and Q's, man. Just sleep with your wallet, yeah. I'm sorry to say it like that, I guess. But hey, man, that's kind of like a thing you'd have to do. Just sleep with your wallet, sleep with your phone, and uh, just I think that'll be about it. Just be wise about your funding, and just be wise about your surroundings, and just talk to good people, man. Coach broke it down pretty well. Terrence gave his insight on that, and yeah, yeah. So we'll go ahead and move on to next question here. Speaking of players, like as far as like being in public, because being around people you don't know, public behavior. I think this is actually an interesting topic too, as well. Um, what what you can and can't say when you are sponsored, or in general as a player or representative of a community, on public forums, or just being in person, or like what is the public behavior as far as you representing, if you're sponsored, you're signed with the group, or just you in general as an audience. Like how would you go about like the public behavior? Because I've seen over on Twitter like situations where players say controversial things, or may say things that are not favorable, or maybe like something disrespectful, and they end up hurting their brand. They end up hurting their scene or community with just their words and their actions. Um, and this will go to you, Coach. How do you see like what is the etiquette for just being, I guess, a good, is it just a good person in general, like just being on your best behavior? Like what is what is yeah, how do you would you define the public behavior for a player in general?
Uh, That's an interesting question because it's open ended and there's a lot of ways to approach it. Because this is one of those big topics of contention where people say you can't say what you want anymore. Well, it's more like if you say what you want, there's a whole bunch of people listening and they got something to say right back to you. And so to me, there's two aspects of this. One, there's the socially bad thing, and then there's the controversial thing. And the socially bad thing, get on your account, saying slurs, making physical threats, things that there's no ambiguity to it, right? It's people see it, it represents something that most people are not about, and most brands are not going to want to be about it because they know other people aren't about it, and they don't want to mess their money up. So that's like the obvious thing, right? That's not the hard thing to avoid. That's the easy thing to avoid. Now, and usually when you do those kinds of things, the consequences kind of come crashing into you in various ways. And so you can't really say much when it happens if you're trying to represent a brand. If you're just, a lone wolf, people will just, think you're a weirdo or somebody bad and not want anything to do with you. But the other thing where, you got your hot takes, controversial things, that's a little more gray because you can say things as long as they don't fit into the first category I mentioned. People will dogpile you and they'll yell at you, but they'll forget it in a week. Like Punk said that thing about Combo Breaker being the worst tournament, and everyone dogpile jumped on him about whatever the actual. And then he made this response to Rick, but aside from the actual content of it, what happened after a week? Nobody cared, right? He wasn't actually, making any overt threats or, being, racist or anything, transphobic or nothing. So it's like people just go, they'll gripe and then forget about it. So like if you're somebody who's just kind of boisterous and you say stuff like that, then there's nothing wrong with it. As long as okay with the backlash. Like someone like Punk probably doesn't care. But there are some people who do care and they'll lock their accounts and stuff like that. But generally, I would say just avoid the first thing. No slurs, you know, no actual hate, no physical threats, anything that can make anyone feel like they'd be unsafe with an event with you in it. Like there was a dude in the Crown of Heart who posted a firearm and mentioned coming to an event, stuff like that. There's no gray zone. It's black and white. You don't want that in your event. You don't want that representing you. So stuff like that is again easy to avoid and it's easy to spot out and get rid of. But the gray stuff that people complain about for X, Y, and Z, it just depends on how the people feel, and they'll forget about it in a week. But generally, I think if you just avoid just being just awful, then you can say all your goofy stuff. Even if people don't agree with you, all that happens is they'll dogpile you, or if you double down on it, they'll dogpile you for 2 more weeks or something. But generally, I don't think there's much to say outside of just the obvious. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, and that is just like being just being trying to like being a good natured person. I mean, you're always being watched. You're always being monitored. Your tweets and your posts can ending up in a certain discourse or like certain forum medias or whatever, just based off of what you say. But people are always watching you. Even if someone follows you or subscribes to you, they're always watching and watching your content. Like there are people right now that are listening to this broadcast and they're just observing, and they enjoy the conversation, they enjoy the atmosphere, and I do appreciate their support. But the thing is, a reason why I say that is because you're always monitored as an individual. There are people that will always look at you and see how you are as a person, and they can, whether they make a good assumption or a bad assumption about you, that will always happen. You always have critics, and I always go by this saying: you are your own. You can be your own worst critic. I mean, for you guys probably heard that before. Sometimes you can be your own worst critic because you kind of force yourself to act or be a certain way to avoid any type of negative feedback or negative emotion towards you as a person in general. And the reason why I say this, and the reason why this relates to this conversation and this podcast discussion for Street Fighter 5 is because you in the community when people post about their events or how they feel about tournaments and things are like that. I mean, things could be interpreted different ways. Like for example, if I make a post saying, good games to everybody in this tournament, easy win. Now tell me, how would you? Now tell me, how would you interpret that, Terrence? Like if I posted about a tournament saying, good games to everybody, easy win. What would you think? What would you think about it if I had posted something like that?
I mean, I'll be like, dang, but I mean, hey, that's how you felt. I guess it's there's nothing really wrong with that. That kind of like how Coach was saying. I mean, people might not like it, but there's
Hmm.
not anything really wrong with that. I mean, yeah,
It's how you feel, right? It's like it's how
yeah.
you felt about the particular event. But when you say like when if I say something like that, it'll probably looked at as being negative. Like someone would see that as, hey man, oh this guy is so arrogant, he's cocky, just a terrible attitude, stuff like that. And you might not even like the person who wrote the message. They might not even mean it that way. They might have saying, "Oh, okay, yeah, it was a good tournament, but I didn't have to struggle as hard or something versus this other event or something like that." But there's always ways to interpret things. So whatever you say or whatever you do in public, people are always watching, man. They're gonna always watch it. They always watch what you do, watch what you say, and some players feel like they're limited. Like they feel like they can't express themselves without being seen as something negative. But if you're just a good person, just a good natured, hearted person in general, you shouldn't have any problems. If you wear your
Well,
emotions on your oh wait a minute, hold on,
well,
hold
I'll
on.
say yeah. I'll say a lot of times with that. I mean, like I think it's not like what you say is how you say it. Like I
Okay.
feel like a lot of the times punk like I guess makes these controversial things. Like I was explaining in the chat. Like I know what he's talking about combo breaker, but there's he could have phrased it better instead of just being it in a calling out manner. Because I think if Rick doesn't know about the monitor issues and things like that, and he can't fix it.
Hmm.
So I think in that sense, like it's meant to, it needs to be said, but he just put it in a way where he's calling out the event. Also, I know some people are doing a thing where they have like their main like sponsored Twitter, and then they have their personal Twitter as well. Um, get some thoughts out when they want to that doesn't have as big of a following as their main Twitter. So there are some things you can do to try to be more to be more cautious and careful on your, I guess, your main account.
This man
Hmm.
said, "Get a journal." He said, "Get a diary."
Dear journal, dear journal. But yeah, it's definitely you. I would say you'd have to watch what you say, but at the same time, you can say you can say what you want, but it's a way you have to say it, or it's a way you have to phrase it.
I'll put
Is
it
that
this way.
I mean, oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you can say whatever you want, no matter how bad, right? It's a matter of, are you built to deal with the flack? Is what do you believe in what you say enough to deal with the flack of it? That's all it is. You can be racist if you want. You can just say mildly controversial things if you want. At the end of the day, if you have a big audience and a whole bunch of people listening, like you were mentioned earlier, everyone's gonna have their own interpretation. You gonna have 1,000 different interpretations. But if you say something, it's ultimately one, do you care what the person's response is? Do you care about that particular person? Like if Jimmy 000582, doesn't care about what you think about the tournament, you probably don't care. But if somebody close to you does, you might care a little bit more. So how do you care
mm,
about the response?
Yeah, and just to go back, I was saying, it's some well, most of the time, I guess in Punk's case, I was saying that it's not really what he said is how he says it, but I mean, there's no good way to say a racial slur. If you say that, then you don't.
Yeah, everyone's
That's
gonna jump
clear.
on you, and you're gonna lose all your opportunities, right? But you get to say it if you want to, and that's the
You
thing
can
you got
say
to
it, but
think about. Yeah,
there'll be consequences.
yeah, there'll be consequences,
Mm.
and so that's why I put that in the former category because that's gonna have the obvious consequences because you can't spin that like Terrence said. There's no there's a bunch of people who will try, but you can never can. But like when you say stuff about this is the tournament quality or the quality of the players around you, there's room for interpretation. There's better ways to say that. But if you have a crass and blunt personality, and then that's you, right? And then people
Mm.
just decide I don't want to talk to this person, or if this person's at the tournament, I'm just gonna play him and not talk to them. Or if someone goes, I don't think the level of things are at where they're at, but I'll be glad to help. Or you just post about reviewing the matchup, the replays of the people in your local scene, stuff like that will probably go over better while kind of sending the same message that you want them to level up. So like Terrence said, it's all about how you say it, and even if people spin stuff in bad faith, if you said something that you meant to say, then you can let that stuff slide off. And if it's somebody you care about, then you can always talk to them and explain it.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure, man. It's if you as a person, you represent, like you say, you have to keep the sponsor professional social media here, and then your personal business, personal social media or whatever on a separate account. I mean, that's how you have to do it, because if when you're under the sponsor spotlight, you're representing a company, you're representing a brand, and of course you have to, there's a code of conduct that you'd have to agree to. Like when you sign a contract, um, you have to make sure you can't really express or say certain things um, under this particular brand. Most certain companies, they might not even care, or they might have to monitor or talk to the person who made such and such controversial statement, and check their behavior on that. But I think that a lot of times we limit ourselves because of this particular, because we're being monitored all the time. Like, I could post up about a tournament, and then I could check a Discord and I could see somebody put my post into the Discord, and I'm like, why? I wonder, like, why? Oh yeah, this person won a tournament. I guess it was easy or something like that. And it's just, social media to me is just something odd. It's an algorithm of just personalities and all types of people all meshed together under one spotlight. So it's you're gonna have the good, the bad, and the ugly, in regards to just dealing with public and people in general. But yeah, man, good insight from both of you guys in regards to that. So we're gonna move on to some interesting questions, just to get to know you guys a little bit more, man. So the audience can get a little bit more information about you guys. And I'll start off with you, Terrence, on this one. So Terrence, what was one of your fondest Georgia tournament memories?
Ooh, let's see. Actually, probably, well, definitely winning my first Southeast Battles event. You know that. I think the first one that we had, I did not do so hot on, and so I was a bit worried, but that it also let me know, okay, I can do this, and I it put me back in the running to be able to go, because like in the runnings for that very first Southeast Battles, it was gonna be between me, Joel, Ice Effect, KB, and Dre Gamester. And actually Dre, on the very first season of the the Redbull Proving Grounds, it was actually me, KB, no, me, Ice Effect, and Dre. KB didn't make it until the second season. So yeah, but yeah, that was definitely a big one for me. I say another one is getting to defend the house, as Shinwaka say, but not at final round, but at the pre-final round Gwinnett Brawl, taking out some of the known out of state players. To do well. I think in that one, um, I can't remember exactly who I beat, but I ended up getting third, and this was one where Adam had the good run. He ended up getting first at that one. It was him and Diddy Mokov second, and then again the year after that, doing the same thing again, taking out people and getting top 8 there. I mean, and yeah, I mean it's a lot. I mean, winning, uh, finally actually getting top 3 in a Gwinnett Brawl. So I remember that. This is when, again, season 1, Dre was winning every or a lot of events, and
Oh wow.
finally, finally breaking that, beating him again, getting the game off him, and till eventually, I started winning those myself. I mean, and of course, the first one I mentioned earlier, doing well at that Marvel event, and you know, uh, having a lot of people watching me. I mean, I remember that my heart was like beating out of my chest because I never had so many people watching me like that and talking
Mm.
and stuff. I was nervous, but I mean it was good, good experience to be able to play. While nervous, that definitely needed that because first few tournaments was too nervous to even move right. Um,
Yeah, but
but
now
yeah,
you good
it's a
though.
lot. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I still will feel it. Like, I mean, even at the last uh monthly I went to, you feel it a bit when you get towards the finals, but learn how to play under that and minimizing that. Those are the techniques you learn that you can't get. I mean, without just being in that atmosphere. You have to go to the tournament and experience it. It's a skill outside of just skill in the game.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say those early ones were pretty fun memories for me.
Especially playing in the like in front of a large group of people just watching you. It
Yeah,
can yeah, it can definitely elevate the heart rate, man. I felt that before too. It's just like it just this your whole body just gets kind of like chilled and shaky a little bit. Your hands start moving and stuff, and then once the match is over, you look at your hands and you just still see it moving a little bit. Like, dang, what the heck just happened?
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
you have a outward experience or something, man. But that's what's up, man. Same question to you, Coach. What was one of your fondest Georgia tournament memories?
Uh, I wouldn't even say like specific stuff. It's like me traveling with the Ujo, so me, Dogi, Laswaga, Black Star, and the various guests we had over the years, and we'd always have these inside jokes. Always having a ball while driving, making up stupid stories, like all that laughs. All of them are great. It helped me, get to where I am. So I think like if I would say that, that's the main thing. The other thing would be I've never had like big success in games. I'm always been the guy who almost gets out of pools, especially in Guilty Gear. Like I was pushing myself competitively, I was getting there, but unfortunately, the game kind of fizzled out, like as far as majors go. But I always like seeing other people. Like even when Terrence was talking about stuff, I was thinking about all the times I saw him up in top 8 in those tournaments, Neon, the people in Guilty Gear like Dot Nova, and I think my fondest memories are seeing those people who I played with, grinded with, or just been watching. Get that big opportunity, like when Dot Nova won the Guilty Gear portion of Redbull Proving Grounds when they did the Guilty Gear that one year.
Mm.
So stuff like that is what I really enjoy. It's like watching all the people in Georgia and even Alabama too. Like Magnegro and stuff. Like when I see them out there, reaching that success, knowing how they've been grinding, seeing the day to day that they do, and then seeing the payoff. That's my favorite part actually. or even like on a lower level, like when I show somebody something or teach them something and they're able to beat people over the years, that kind of thing. I like seeing like other people's success, and that's my. I
Watching the
guess if I,
homies eat.
yeah. To me, I love seeing it. Like like when you got up there and did a commentary of the Dream Hack and stuff like that. So I like seeing stuff like that. And there
Oh
was a
man,
point in time where I was like really critical of people all around me, but I kind of realized I can't really do that. I gotta be, as fair as possible with people. And when I started doing that, I started realizing how much I really enjoy watching people, grow through various ways, and not even just through, those kinds of things. Like watching SirRetro, get the people going in exhibition. He's building up the online portion as well as the offline portion of the scene. Something I've kind of been preaching about. So like seeing him build, making up from nothing, essentially, because when we were around, making tournaments were kind of sparse. And like me, Dogi, or Laswaga would go and we'd beat them up, and they wouldn't want to play anymore. And then that kind of changed when SirRetro kind of took the reins, and there was some growing pains. But hey, he sat down, listened to me and others, and took feedback, and he grew his tournaments, and he's a really good and social guy, and he's brought these people together. So that's another thing, it's like I'm just really proud of seeing people do stuff like that. That's my favorite thing about this community is the good people in it who are working hard and getting what they are aiming for.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. Definitely do appreciate that and appreciate you, Coach, for your utmost honesty. Thank you so much, man. That actually made me a little emotional, man, because it has been it's been a long time, like as far as grinding, just to be able to commentate at DreamHack was just huge for me. Just being on that main platform stage and just commentating Street Fighter Five, it was hard work, and big shout outs to Dr. Eek, Derek, as my commentator partner that year for DreamHack, and we held it down, man. It was a beautiful event. We got to see a lot of the backstage stuff going on behind the scenes that the public just can't see, and it was just an amazing, man. It looked like a movie set, to be honest. It was just people moving and hustling and bustling, stuff like that, and it's just for me to be able to see that firsthand on how the production and things work behind the scenes. It's amazing, man. So once again, thank you so much, Coach, for that, and you too, Terrence. Appreciate that, man. Let me get into this next question, and then we'll um, go over a few announcements, and then we'll open the floor for you guys to talk about anything. So this next question: who introduced you to fighting games, or how did you find the Georgia FGC, Terrence? You said I think you did answer this earlier with Max, right? Like for Marvel.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, the Marvel. I like I said beforehand, I knew I knew about Final Round and stuff, but I actually didn't know the scene. Like I was I was actually playing like Street Fighter 4 online, and I met some people that like knew that I was in Georgia and other people in Georgia, but I just didn't know anybody. See, I remember like running into Pierre online, and I saw your name before in like one of the online Wednesday night fight things when they were having it on PC. And I mean that's about it. But yeah, not until I got my job up here and met Max, that's when I learned about the greater Georgia FGC community group on Facebook, and learned about more stuff through there.
Okay. All right. And then the same question for you, Coach. Who introduced you to the fighting games, or how did you find the Georgia FGC?
Um, so as far as like finding the Georgia FGC, I was on SRK because I just wanted to learn how to play Street Fighter 4, and I've been on there before because I was interested in like CVS 2 and some of the older games. But PlayStation 3 came out, and then like outside of stuff like Kyera, I think that's how it's pronounced, you couldn't really play those games. And then GGPO came out, the client came out, so those older games you could play online. But for the most part, playing fighting games online was not like a basic thing until Street Fighter 4 came out. So that's when I like started looking through, and then going to the character forums, and then I looked into the regional forums, and I saw the Georgia thread. I saw about 10 Georgia threads, 9 of them were locked, and then Because that's SRK did. You would just fill up the threads, and then when they hit the limit, they'd lock them, and then they'd make a new thread. And so I was looking through the Georgia thread, like I saw your name in there, and Brian H. A lot of the old school guys, and then somebody, and I mentioned the Green Brothers. I saw the Green Brothers post, and then they sent me the video to how to get to their house, and uh,
How
I
to get
went
to
up.
the house through the woods?
Yep, and then I sat down and played. Actually, that's like one of my one of my awakenings. Because when I was playing online, I was just like learning all the gimmicks and stuff. I didn't really know how to play, and then I was like trying to play Dudley, and I was playing Marty. He was playing Guy, and Super had been out for like a couple months, and so we were playing, and I was backing up into the corner, and he just beat me up all the time because I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was backing into the corner, and then at one point he was just kind of standing there, and I backed myself into the corner, and he paused the game, and I looked at him like, "Is something wrong?" He's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I
Uh-oh.
remember I was like, because if you know Marty, then you probably can picture this in your head. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, I sat there. I was like, I couldn't answer. I was like, "I don't know." And he was telling me like, "Why are you giving up space?" Da 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 da. But like the whole lecture that kind of was lost on me, but I just never forget. Like, what are you doing? He just paused
What are
the
you
game,
doing?
and that's what made me realize that I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing on the screen, and that's kind of the thing that really kickstarted me to be kind of a training mode, lab rat, monster kind of guy where I want to know everything that's going on. I want to know how the hitboxes work. I want to know how the system works, and so that's like really kickstarted me into that journey. So like I feel like now I can answer a decent amount about any game I play, and I can justify decisions I make even if they're wrong. So that was like the big first. I say not my big, but the first thing that made me like go, there's something more to this. So
Okay. All right. That's what's up, man. And yeah, that's it's always the first memories of just being able to find a community and just grow and foster from there that are just the most cherished because you kind of can't forget that, man. You kind of can't forget who brought you into the fighting game realm or how did you find the fighting game realm in general. And that's just how your legacy starts, man, as a person and a player, because it does help out in both realms, man. But speaking of realms, y'all, we got Street Fighter 6 dropping out, what I'm saying, next year. I'm sure everyone here has seen the trailer, the recent trailer that probably has over 1 million views at this point because so many people have done breakdowns and guesses and hypotheses on what the game is going to be like and how it's going to work and stuff. And you guys, let me ask your opinion. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Street Fighter 6 and the future of the GA Street Fighter community, Terrence?
Well, yes, I could just start with Street Fighter Six. I mean, that
Yeah,
trailer
your
looked
thoughts.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like just from the trailer and the amount of information they released, I feel like they are definitely trying to do things the opposite way in which they went for Street Fighter Five, where we just saw like a little gameplay and then nothing about single player mode or really how the game worked upon release. Because I mean, the game did not work on release. So yeah, I feel like they released more than enough information. I was satisfied, before the leak started happening. Just seeing like they gave us a lot to speculate with we saw like what looked like a red focus. We obviously saw Perry's, we saw Alpha Counter, so we were like, oh, okay, this this game is gonna have a lot. But then on the website they updated that to explain everything, and I was shocked. They talked about the drive system and how that works, and like there's a lot of mechanics in here, so they added more things. You don't have to wait until you get beat up or until halfway throughout the round to actually be able to do more things with your character. So they took that approach, and based off of one of the leaks we saw with the Cami Super, um she was losing her drive bar as she got hit. So we can kind of, assume that the drive system will work like Luke's V trigger, where as long as he's doing nothing, it just goes up slowly. And if he hits you, he's gaining meter, and if you're getting hit, you lose it. And apparently this also the drive gauge replaces the traditional stun meter as well. Once you get burnout from the drive gauge, that seems to be the only way you can get stunned. So I mean, there's a lot to look forward to gameplay wise, and I mean, just from what they saw, just from what they showed, like in the trailer, with the new designs, those look good. Um, what they showed in the gameplay, that looked good, but there was a little bit of like jankiness and clunkiness with the animations. Like, I mean, the characters themselves look good, but it. And like the commentator trailer, you can see like Chun-Li moving, and it looks a little it looks a little weird. But this is alpha footage. Street Fighter Five definitely didn't look how it did in its first few trailers, and I'm sure they'll clean it up. But
Yeah.
a lot of people are saying it looks more like Mortal Kombat with the way they move. It doesn't have like the snappiness that Street Fighter Five is usually known for.
Like
It's a
the
little
fluid animation.
yeah,
Like yeah, it kind of looked like like a lot of moves had a lot of hit stop on it. Like they get hit and then like the game kind of pauses for a few frames. Yeah,
yeah,
they gotta clean. Yeah, I hope they clean that up. I
yeah.
hope they
I
clean
did
that up.
too. Like
Oh
I
god.
said, movement kind of look, like it kind of looks smooth, but just some of the animations, yeah, they gotta do something about that. It kind of looks similar to like how some of Fox animations are, where there's like it's just nothing and then movement. There's like no transition. So, um, and like I saw Ryu's Tatsu, and that looked a little weird, but um, somebody actually broke it down and was like, yeah, he doesn't in Street Fighter Five, he has the whirlwind around his kicks. That helps to show like the greater impact, and also he's spinning the wrong way. He like bends the way like in Street Fighter Five, he
Mhm.
moves in like it makes sense the way he moves. It's like a more of a he follows his foot like when he spins, but he does it the opposite way in Street Fighter Six in that clip, and it didn't look um as natural. So they definitely got a few things to clean up, but overall I'm impressed with what they showed. And as far as the leaks, I like the design of, I mean, everybody, the new designs for everybody. They look cool, and from the leak we saw with Clan, I mean, that's his design in game looked better to me than it did on paper. So I'm interested to see how these characters move and look in the RE engine. Um, once it's time to actually reveal all that. And as far as like you were saying about the net code earlier, I don't think that's actually anything we'll have to worry about, because um, Capcom, MVCI uses the same netcode that Street Fighter Five does. Their Street Fighter Five's own Kagemusha and netcode that they developed, and they actually fixed it in MVCI. Like their MVCI has actual good netcode. All the matches I've ever played in that, like in state, are stable, and there are actually some people who play like some Japanese people from here online with it. I don't know about all that. Of course, there's going to be some latency with that, but still, that the connection is stable, and it handles it well. That's good. And I mean, MECI came out in 2018, so this coming out in 2023. They should have optimized it even more by now. So I think that actually won't be a problem, even if it's in the same state of MVCI. I think I'll be happy with that. That's MVCI's netcode was a great step above Street Fighter Five's. Even though I didn't like the game as much, but the netcode, I can vouch for that. And as far as the scene, I also, like I said earlier, you I believe that there definitely will be a resurgence once this comes out. I don't know if it'll be as strong as it normally is, and by normally I mean like for the next Street Fighter game. Like I was saying earlier, I think like the last Street Fighter 4 event before Street Fighter 5 came out had like 10 people in it, and then the first Gwinnett Brawl for Street Fighter 5 had 120. And I only say I don't know about how strong just because we're still in the pandemic. We don't. There's some unknowns, that we have to factor in. So we don't know how strong it'll be. But I mean, everybody's pretty much waiting. I'm waiting to go back hard in Street Fighter when Street Fighter 6 comes out. And I know, KB, he's doing his events now, but he's trying to plan. It's all in preparation for Street Fighter 6. He wants to plan more stuff and be more involved himself. Once Street Fighter 6 drops, and like you said, I mean, in KB's events so far, like every time I believe I've seen at least one new name that I, I've never heard of. So once we get back in the swing of things, where when that game's out, KB will be able to host his house sessions again, and we'll actually have things to do again outside of just going to the tournament and playing there. I definitely think those sessions and meetups are very beneficial for the scene. Probably more than just doing the tournaments. Where you can actually help each other and analyze their play and grind out some matchups. So I think we'll be pretty good once that we'll be pretty good shape once that game comes out and the ball gets rolling.
No, for sure, man. I think KB's doing an amazing job. I know that the numbers aren't what we would expect here, but the fact that we need to keep having this going, try to have this keep going, at least that way to keep the folks interested in playing in general, because I remember during that event, what they were asking, when is the next one? And I really couldn't give a straight answer because we'd have to actually go about and plan that to see when the next one is. But the fact that they asked instead of just walking out and be like, okay, I'm done for the day, that lets me know that there is interest there. And we need to try to keep holding their interest, because if they're asking when the next tournament is, that means that they want to play. So we need to try to get that foundation built up. But appreciate your thoughts, man, on Street Fighter 6, man. Coach, I got the same question for you. Talk to me, Coach. What are your thoughts on Street Fighter 6, and what do you foresee for the future of the Georgia Street Fighter community?
Uh, so I guess I don't have a ton of thoughts. I think the game looks nice. I really like that they gave us information dumps, like Terrence was saying, because there should be mystery and intrigue in your reveals, but you should let people know like what they're getting into at a very basic level. And so I like that they're doing that, and that tells me, again, like Terrence alluded to, that they're thinking a lot more about the launch of the game than they did for 5. And I think, and this is my theory, is that Street Fighter 5 was not really done. They just kind of put it in a done state. But Street Fighter 6, I think it is more or less done. They might. I don't think it's gold, like it's pressed and ready to go, but like I think they have what they're gonna ship out, and like if they tune something here and there, or if they put out like a beta, which I actually am anticipating a beta to come out. But generally, those are the things I like. The fact that it's using the RE engine means that even if we're stuck on PlayStation, we're not gonna get that Unreal Engine lag, because one of the big things that really hurt Street Fighter 5 was 8 frames of lag, just between the PlayStation console, the Unreal Engine, and the unoptimized code from Street Fighter 5. It was just really unresponsive. On top of the game just not really booting and launching online like it should have. So it looks like they've taken those kind of things to heart. So I'm expecting that low latency just from not using Unreal Engine. So there's a lot of things that this game is setting itself up for as far as success goes, single player modes and stuff like that. So it looks like they're really thinking about not just the competitive people, not just the casual people, but as many people as they can. As far as the gameplay stuff, I don't. I'm typically the old guy. It was like I don't really care about that until it's actually in my hands and I'm playing it. So it's like it's interesting. You can theory craft about it, but until I'm playing it, I don't really have much of opinion on it. So I can
Same.
just say it. Yeah, I can say it looks interesting at the very least. That it's they put a lot of thought into it. At least it looks like from that part. But yeah, I'm at least even if me or anyone else doesn't like the game, at least it looks like it's setting itself up to be a stable game that people can kind of jump in and out of. Well, hopefully, the menus and stuff like that don't have a lot of pain points, but we'll see when that comes. But yeah, I'm expecting a beta and hoping that they're going to be open to feedback. But I like what they're doing so far as just launching the game or getting us ready for launch. Like putting the leaks aside, they gave us a good amount of information. I'm thinking it's going to come out early 2023 because, like I said, I think it's basically done, and it just like probably going to put some finishing touches after a beta, and then they're going to put it on gold, and then we're going to get it pretty early next year, probably whenever they do whatever they're going to do with the CPT. It's going to be like after that. But as far as the scene, I agree with Terrence. With the pandemic, it's going to blunt a lot of what you'll see in the numbers wise, which that's probably a big thing that's happening affecting the Street Fighter 5 events as KBs are throwing. But I think it's important to throw those events because it gives people a place again, like I was pointing to earlier, like this is where you need to go to if you want to play Street Fighter 5, and that's a good thing. And it's setting the base because as we get closer and closer to Street Fighter 6, there's going to be people who are going to want to play Street Fighter 5 because that's always happening. When these new games come out, people want to go play the last version just to get a feel of it because there's a lot of people who, one, don't really play Street Fighter, and two, never play fighting games. And so those are the people who are going to start looking at these things. They're going to turn on streams. They might turn on a 4-on-4 stream and then find out it's in Atlanta, and that's how you grow that stuff. So I think between KB stuff, like in Middle Georgia, SirRetro stuff, and I think what I really want to see for like at least Atlanta or Georgia and all is that somebody kind of brings together an online presence to go with the offline presence, because there's going to be a lot of people who are not going to come to these events right away because of the pandemic or because they're busy with work, family, or they just don't want to go, or gas is $4 a gallon at this time of the podcast. So, you need to give them something to do, something to relate. That's how you build a community of people who get to know each other, right? Because there's a lot of people on various Discords who I've not met in real life, but I've played in games, I've talked to. And so if I ever get around to going there, I'll already have like, I guess, a rapport, and I'll feel a little welcome because like I guess an example is I'm in the DMV, Delaware, or not Delaware, but DC, Maryland, Virginia, the SNK group. So I play the old Samurai Showdown games, the new KOF with them, and we're always chatting about various stuff. So I feel like if I ever drove up to like one of the events in Baltimore or DC or Virginia, I feel welcome there because I've talked to a lot of those guys. I've had fun because there's an online presence there. So I want to see that more for Georgia. Get out of that Facebook group with the same people in there and make a space that's open for anyone to show up for Street Fighter. And so, like, even if they don't want to come offline immediately, they can get to know the people who do play offline and other people who live in the area. And so, when the day comes, they want to go offline for whatever reason because the time frees up, or they've got over their anxiety. They can go and they can meet people who they've been already communicating with. So, that's one of the things I really like about what SirRetro does is that kind of there's people in there that chat and play games with us who don't really go to the events until later. And so, like, kind of get out of this locals first mentality where it's like, if you don't go to locals, you don't matter. Rather, you go, the locals matter, but so do the people who live in the area and play online, and bridge that gap so that so you can keep expanding the scene. You can keep pointing people to a place where they can go, and they don't have to go in their car and drive 2 hours immediately. That's not the scene or nothing, because that's how it kind of was before the pandemic. It's like if you didn't go to the scene, nobody cared, or you didn't support. But support can be going to the stream, doing the matcherino, all the typical stuff. But just like communicating and playing these games with people, that's important to me, and that's what opens the gap for those people to come in later. So if there's a structure for that for Street Fighter 6, I think it'll be good because right now you got Reboot, Augusta, and 404. But if you get that online scene, you get the potential for people to make their own scenes in other places. Maybe the Columbus scene will start coming back up. Maybe the Savannah scene will start coming back up. Because I know that Savannah anime players, they've been building their stuff up too. So like I think if we want to kind of get back to that early Street Fighter 4 where all of the states involved, that online structure is going to be critical where we're all communicating because I think after we all left the Great Migration, you probably remember this, the Great Migration from the SRK threads to Facebook due to Whistlecroft. Yeah, we were all in there together, right? Someone would post up the event. We were always talking to each other in these threads. We were always communicating. We were always playing. Even if people who weren't going to the events, we were all in that group talking to each other. It was active. And so if we could kind of get something like that for Street Fighter 6, I think the locals will do well, the online will do well, and then you won't have this problem of it just kind of, you know, getting tuckering out and then, you know, filtering from 80 people from the first local to the 50 to 60. Then you got like 2-3 years later, you got it's just 12 people plus the 3 or 4 that'll eventually come out here and there, right? So you want to just build a strong structure for it. I guess, you know, repeating myself again. That's I guess my 2 cents on it.
Okay. All right. I definitely do agree with you. I think we need to, like, well, I mean, we discussed, I think I talked about it a bit earlier in the podcast about laying down the foundation for how the game is going to be. And it is already off to a wonderful start. And as a matter of fact, I can't even remember if Street Fighter Five did they even have a website, yo? I can't remember. I can't
No,
remember.
they did
I
not.
don't remember.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't remember
They
the website.
they put up
Okay.
the Shadowloo Center after the fact, where they put up, you know, all the character bios and stuff, but they didn't like say, here's how the game works, you know, and stuff like that.
Oh
Or
no.
yeah, they didn't do anything like that.
Okay.
So
All
they're setting it up
I,
pretty good now.
yeah, it looks good. All I remember is just the Mike Ross demo of the game. That's it. Like they demoed the Ryu versus Chun-Li, and of course it looks completely different than it did during the final product. And I think that's it. I was like, okay, here's Street Fighter Five. This is the day that it's gonna launch, and I think that was literally it. And
Nah,
everything else just relied on just knowledge and combos. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Coach.
oh no, in Capcom's defense, they actually did console and PC betas before the game came out. Which is actually really rare for a Japanese company to do the PC betas. So they actually did a beta before it dropped. And then that's
Yeah.
where people were like whining about Nash and stuff like that. Because beta Nash was actually pretty decent. And then he got kind of started on
Yeah.
his journey for getting his legs broken.
Yeah, they did beta, so more than likely that's gonna happen for six, as well. They'll probably do like active feedback, and they'll probably do like, because I know in Street Fighter Five they did for the betas, they added in a character like every testing period, like every testing period, like this period has Cammy, this one has Bison, this one has Mika, or they just kept adding characters in slowly over time during these testing periods. But the fact that they did that was good. But again, if you didn't have that fighting game, not that knowledge or that sense as far as like labbing and grinding, you were kind of sitting in the dust because you had to figure out everything on your own. And it wasn't really an explanation or a tutorial mode. Again, that got patched in later in the game's life with arcade mode and survival and all that. They did a system explanation on how all the moves work, but it was too late. All of that wasn't at launch, so a
Yeah, I
lot of
mean,
people were left in the dark.
well, yeah, the beta barely even had a main menu. It was just training mode and queue up. That's it.
Yes. God dang. So people just had to figure out a lot of stuff on their own. But now that I said it again, I say it again, like if everything that the game has now launched, was included at the launch, it would have been a much different turnout for sure. It would have helped a lot of people gain and keep interest within the game for sure. But I think that turned off a lot of gamers too from it, because it didn't have all of those options. So there was like no single player content, or just anything to keep hold their attention instead of just queuing up in a ranked match and going to training mode. So I think that now that Capcom is like focusing more on the on doing like the single player content, expanding the story mode. I think that's great, man. They're hitting the ground running, and then now it's being released on Xbox too as well. So that's another platform. So that means you get another group of players who just may have only just had just an Xbox. Now they get an opportunity to get in on the action for Street Fighter 6 since they missed out on 5. So you got even more players coming through. And then that's also another good question. I wonder if it is going to be cross-platform on launch. Maybe we'll see.
Hopefully it will, because that's another big thing for building a community is that's how you keep people together. Because a lot of I won't say a lot of people don't play on Xbox, but you just like for a lot of games, it's hard to find good fighting game opponents on that system. It's like a small dedicated crew. They're there, but it's not the
Mm.
same experience.
Is there a fighting game? I mean, I know I can name some other games, but is there a fighting game that's cross-platform, Sony and Xbox?
Power Rangers.
Power
Okay,
Rangers,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. Power
cross-platform
Rangers,
everywhere. Okay.
yeah. Power Rangers, and I think
Fantasy
that
Strike.
yeah, I was about to say that one game that Sherlin was mentioning. Yeah, that Fantasy Strike. Yep. But outside of that, we'll just see. We'll see what happens with that. Then, Sir Retro, let me ask you, what are your thoughts on Street Fighter Six and the future of just the Georgia Street Fighter community?
Yeah, I'll say in the same boat with Coach and Terrence. As far as the game itself, I'm very interested, and I had some theories about it. Of it'll still be more overall offensive oriented. Let's say as far as the mechanics, they seem to incorporate, and which I thought it would make sense because it's like what to go beyond the V system. They have like the parry-ish, the focus attack, the alpha counter and reversal all into one now, and now you have to kind of manage and balance it. It's almost like MK11, where you had that meter of like offense and defense, so like that, and it's separated from the super meter, so you don't have to worry about, oh, I use my EX, well, I can't do a super afterwards. So it opens up in the sense of a combo variety where you can now do EX stuff, and then you can probably combo into a super or anything else. um, but like I said, as far as the system is, where the sun mechanics is going to be interesting, and the fact that, like with that idea with Luke, like I said, the V trigger situation with Luke, that was a teaser for, hey, this is what's going to happen, you know, with the drive system that is now going to be where the players themselves all don't. Yeah, I figured that all the characters are going to have something like that. Now that is within the fact they have to make sure they don't get hit too much, or else they'll lose as many opportunities to have the the tools and mechanics and stuff to get out of situations if a reversal or a parry, whatever. And of course, I like the idea that the defense costs less than the offense. Because a lot of people would like to spend a lot to try to do a lot of big things and damages and so forth. And now it's like, hey, you got to manage, because what if you get hit? What if you are in a situation in your corner or whatever, and you can't get out or so like that? So it's really going to be interesting to be a big focus on management. I mean, in general, like most fighting games are, but like this is like a more emphasis you can see where you look at their stuff and say, okay, I'm going to, you know, I can go offensive and stuff like that, but then it's gonna be very costly. Or could I like stay back a bit and don't have to worry about spending too much, but still I don't get a lot, you know. But you get. I think you still may get rewarded. So that's also the thing I'm curious about, is how you will get rewarded using the parry or the overdrive, not overdrive, the drop impact, the drop parry, and drop reversal, or something like that. So hopefully that will be a good reward where, okay, if I drop impact, okay, that means I'm frame advantage, I can get the O key, I can do this big damage, whatever. So it pays off now. You should be get paid off, rewarded more for being defensive as much as you are all for offenses. So hopefully that balance will come into play, and we'll see. Obviously, you know we'll see how it turns out. So I'm sure, as far as the looks of it, you know some things, the ink splatting graphic maybe a little, it's maybe a little too much, but like I said, it's alpha. It's this early footage. A lot of stuff may change, and obviously, like I said, with Street Fighter Five, early footage of that, we've seen the dramatic change over time, how it looked and everything. So, but I think it's gonna be fun. Even for the simple input mechanics, controls, that's something that really, it's not really worrisome at all, because I know people talk had some gripes about it, or whatever. But I'm like, you looking at something that has been done for decade, or well, more than a decade, I would say. Like I said, same with Marvel, same with how Grand Blue did, even though it's his own different type of system away, or Marvel Infinite. So it's only for those who like not man take it seriously, want to play the game and do some stuff without having to worry about complicated inputs according to them or whatever, and feel like they're active. And that's the only thing that may be limited is the tools, the amount of tools and everything they're able to have access to. But like I said, that would push probably people towards newcomers to try out to say, okay, I like the dude may do this type of move, or I like how this combo kind of looks and stuff like that. And of course, if they're interested, they could say, all right, let me try this, give a shot at learning the classic, and mechanic stuff, and they might be able to learn how to do more. But the thing is, it'll be a good incentive though to draw people in. I mean, it depends. Like I said, it could be just newcomers just want to play the game and learn it, and then just have fun with it and not think about much about it and call it a day. But hopefully, it will drive. Well, as far as the competitive side of the sense, it would give an incentive for players to newcomers to like, you know what, I might like how to play this game. I might learn a little more competitively. I might try to dig in more to the tools, how this work now, how this drive thing is, or whatever. So hopefully that would they hopefully Capcom can understand and learn to just like, okay, here's a simple thing for newcomers or novice players. Here's this thing for advanced people. That's it. You know, there's no way you can. I mean, of course, yes, it's up to the player to get into that transition. But it's like, hey, Capcom, like, you know what? If you're interested, here's a way you can get involved into the more classic, more depth and tool, blah blah blah. So, of course, a lot of people say like the tutorial. So if there's going to be a tutorial that will be a good guide towards have a player to be into getting more to the competitive sense. And then even they chose not to, at least they can understand like, okay, this is not bad. I can enjoy this game how I want to play it, but then there's a competitive scene and then whatever. So as far as the community, sense, with the mechanics and the features and all that we're expecting to see or get over time, is that we have the newcomers interested in the looks of the game. It'll feel fun. It's a lot you can do. It opens up combo varieties. It opens up a lot of like things you can do and not a lot straightforward, so linear. So I'm hope like I said, that for like combo or like I said, offense defense mechanics and the wars of like, hey, I did this defensive impact. I counter this. Okay, cool. I can do more of this. You feel good to either or whether either side, and it doesn't feel like, okay, you gotta be only offensive, and that's the best way to reward you. Oh, where here's a combat mechanic to if you're down and out, and you just swipe and overturn the competition within like one foot, in a single hit or whatever. So hopefully that will be a good incentive to players to have there's a better balance of things. So yeah.
Okay. All right. That definitely do. I definitely do appreciate that so much. As far as your feedback, I'm just waiting again on my end. I'm just waiting to see, like Coach said, just wait to see. Just get it in your hands, play it, see how it feels. Again, I hope they address that hit stop from taking damage, because I don't like the fact that the game kind of pauses a little bit when players get hit. So we'll see what happens. Maybe that was just for show. Of course, again, the animations they're gonna work. They'll work on that and get that cleaned up. So the finished product will look much different, I'm sure, over time. And definitely do appreciate that your thoughts and opinions on that retro, Terrence and Coach. I'm just gonna do a quick announcement before we dive into the open panel for whatever you guys like to talk about. So for upcoming events, we have Street Fighter V one more round. That's going to be in July. The July date is to be determined at this time. We're still negotiating. As far as that's concerned, we want to do. We'll see about doing Ultra and Street Fighter V again, and add in 2 more games to that. So we're still working on that. So I'll get with KB and we'll talk about that. Um, We got the return of Data FGC on June 11th at the new venue Contender Esports at the Battery in Cumberland. For esports themselves, they'll be at Tipped Off Reunion in Marietta, Georgia for the Smash scene on June 11th. Plus, they got their Smash Ultimate monthly on the 18th, and then their Smash Melee plus Tekken monthly on the 25th of June. But speaking of the 25th of June, that is also the weekend of CEO, which is June 23rd through the 25th, which I'll be going down there. I'll be using that as a vacation too as well, because my birthday is going to be the following week. So I was like, you know what? Why not kill three birds with one stone? I get some time off, I get the vacation, and I get to enjoy some fighting games. So I was like, you know what? Let me combine all of that into one and see what CEO looking like, man. But of course, I'll take precautions and be as safe as possible. Maintain distance, sanitary, and all of that. Shower, of course, accordingly, and just make sure I'm good to go, man. While I'm down there, have a good time. But outside of those upcoming events, was there anything from your end, Retro, as far as like events being concerned for the month, or that was it?
Yes, actually, well, this month it'll be actually this upcoming weekend that we're going to have it'll be a little different. So not exactly fighting games, but we're going to have a retro sports tournament. Um, so apparently some of our players also play games like NBA Jam, Windjammers, NFL Street, and NBA Street. NFL Blitz and NBA Street Volume 2. So I will have the registration up for details, and that's a more, just for general audience. But like I said, many of players, FTC players, also play those games as well. So we're trying to like branch out to other types of games to, get other audiences like interested in our gaming scene. And then if some are interested in fighting games, that's a nice little segue probably to that. So, but like it's this Saturday at 5, and we're gonna have classic retro sports. And I think NBA Jam might be a big one. I'm looking forward to that, and this intense competition. So yeah. So as far as this month goes, and of course next month I have the dates set ahead of time, but I will say the 9th and the 23rd. And I think the 9th we're having our retro rival tournament number 2, and we're bringing back Street Fighter 3, Super Turbo, Marvel 2, and actually Marvel 3. And we might have open side tournaments for other games, like either Vampire Savior or Ultra Street Fighter 4 or whatever, because we do have also classic Street Fighter players that live here down as well. And even for like, especially the exhibitions for a while, we had a lot of Super Turbo exhibitions, and that became a big thing. And we even had Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 players, and we had Third Strike as well as Windjammers and like other classic fighting games. So, and the Marvel 2 is is still happening in our scene, and we're gonna have people that come from Florida who came and beat us last time to come back. So that's July 9th, and of course we won't have our usual Reboot monthly on July 23rd. And of course, the usual games are expecting Street Fighter 5, Tekken 7, Guilty Gear Strive, and KOF 15. And that's pretty much all I can say that we have for now.
Okay. All right. Well, there it is. You guys got a good rundown on the one. And you also have, I believe, a raffle here. Are we ready to close out the giveaway to see who gets those tickets?
Yeah, well, if no one else signed up for the raffle, 'cause I did announce it a few times, to type in giveaway to do the raffle, but we do have plenty. So if that's the case, well, any last minute raffles who want to go to the Rangers Con to see the Power Rangers, Pokemon, like Ash and Brock, original cast, as well as some My Hero Academia and the original '90s Ninja Turtles movie cast. They're going to be there as well, and it's for the free all 3 days of the weekend, Friday through Sunday, and you get 2 free tickets. And we have Smash and Power Rangers fighting game tournaments to enter. no, in the meantime. But of course, like in between, just stop by the Data FGC tournament and hang out with them as well. But yeah, it's gonna be at the Sheraton Hotel. And I'll post this up here for the chat. But yeah, like I said, going once, going twice. We're gonna close the giveaway. If anyone has last minute, all right, and I'll do a little drum roll. Close the.
Hey, who gets it?
And we. So we have ShadowAce once again drawn for the giveaway.
What? Me?
Yeah.
Redraw. Do a redraw. Yeah. Go ahead, do a redraw.
Redraw. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if one of our lucky viewers can.
Jackal Man. I think he's doing a tournament right now, but yeah, Jackal Man. If he's here, let you know that he has been drawn for the 2 tickets.
Okay.
What are they saying? Yes, you should have tried. I said it like 3 times. All you do is type in giveaway, and you're good.
It's time to win a giveaway, but I think you already. It was only 2 tickets, right?
It was 2 tickets, but he said he had a friend who would love to go, and I'm like, yeah, you could have won the 2 tickets, gave to your friend, or do whatever. It was yours either way, and call it a day. But hey, next time not sure we'll have any more, but if we do have any left over, well, no, that's right. It's this weekend, but hopefully we might do something in the future if we get more cool stuff as a giveaway, and we have a podcast at the time. Definitely, stay tuned because you never know. It may be another surprise. So, but yeah, shout outs to Jackal Man for winning the giveaway. I'll reach out to him and whisper to him and let him know, and if he wants it or not. And if not, then either I hold on to it or for an event before this weekend, or you want to give it to somebody else in the chat that he saw. Yeah, but yeah, congratulations either way.
All right, there it is. Good stuff. Congratulations to Jaco Man for winning those tickets. But all right, so with that being said, all of that out of the way, we do now have a open panel discussion for anything you guys like to discuss from your end. Any topics you like to tackle or get off your chest, Coach Terrence.
Yeah, I'll just say for the newer players and just the people that don't know, we've been discussing the struggles with the current offline scene for Street Fighter Five, but for the online scene, in the Atlanta area, it is pretty active. I mean, they have just some online sessions where multiple people from the region get on and play maybe about 3 times a week. And also Darius Davip, he hosts these exhibitions with somebody from ATL going against somebody from Bama. That's been going on for a couple of weeks now, and it's usually weekly, but sometimes there's a break in between, and I don't think there was one for last week, but those go on so you can see some of the players from both of those scenes, and even though Darius isn't here, he's still doing that, and I'll try to find some people to play, etc. And then on some in the Middle Georgia scene, I think correct me if you're still doing this. I know you had like a sign up sheet in the Middle Georgia group for some online exhibitions and multiple games. So I know you set that up for either Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday, I believe.
Oh, well, actually, I do have a actual calendar now of when I actually available. So it actually anytime at certain times during any day at certain times during the week now. Of course, unless if I'm going out of town or if I'm going to another tournament or whatever. So yeah, actually, did I put it as a command? I should have, but I will actually should do that. No, I think I have it in the reboot exhibition, but I'll do one here too. But I'll have it in the Discord as well as our reboot on Twitter to as far as the schedule and stuff, where you can actually go in, sign up, and you can check the schedule, and then you can put in what time, and we get the email about it, and of course reach out to y'all, with the best time or whatever to do it. Set put in the calendar, be good to go. Yeah, and yeah, we're still doing it. We actually had one this past Thursday, and also speaking of which, with that VIP, shout out to him making top 16 recently in the Midwest CPT. Um,
Oh, yep. Because
Yep,
he's
yep. Amazing
currently in
run, man.
Kansas City. And yeah, he did pretty good. He was
hmm
able to Midwest CPT.
So shout out to him. So yeah, but we still doing the reboot run it series. Like I said, we'll definitely promote it more because we've been actually getting a lot more people from outside of our scene to get involved. Shout out to Savannah, shout outs to of course Atlanta, shout out to ShadowAce who has been commentating many of our Street Fighter and much is competing too. So shout out to him, thank you so much. And of course we get more players outside of the because we wanted to do that where we want to showcase our talent for the Middle Georgia scene, but we got to the point where we started to reach out to other scenes and have their, their talents to be showcased as well. And we're hopefully in talks to get doing another team exhibition because it was fun last time with Grand Blue. We might hope. I would like to do a Street Fighter, probably against Data or Atlanta, you guys, or whoever is available.
That sounds fun, man. If you guys want to, see about setting something up like that, I would be more than happy to try and participate in that. Just let me know.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, we'll do. We'll do.
All right. All right. Well, with that being said, anything from you, Coach, before we close it out?
Well, not much.
Okay.
I was gonna tell Terrence, you gotta get them guys out that Facebook group though. But other than that, nah.
Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, I definitely do appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much, Terrence and Coach, for joining us on episode number 7. You know what I'm saying? We got just 3 more into the season finale. I know other scenes definitely have been asking about wanting to interview their scenes and talk with their communities and stuff like that. But we want to try to give everybody here a fair shake before we venture into that territory about letting other states come in and talking with them about how their scenes run and operate. So we'll definitely reach out to more players here first before doing that. And I already got an idea on who to talk to for episode 8. So stay tuned on the details for that. But where can the good people find you at, Terrence?
You can find me on Twitter at Soriku16, SORIKU16. Probably won't see too many recent tweets there, but I'm always checking my DMs and talking in there.
Okay. And then what about you, Coach? Where can the good people check you out?
I'm generally on Twitter, mostly a retweet bot, but you can check me out at MrAnnual, all one word. Um, so just hit me up. I'm around. I'll talk to you. Other than that, uh, there's a link to my YouTube page where I got my own podcast and stuff. So if you want to look at that, there's there. And now can I make a suggestion on one of your guests in the future? I wanna,
Talk
I
to me.
wanna, I wanna hear Dragon Ball Joseph on this podcast at some point. If you can make that happen, you make me happy. That's all.
Dragon Ball Joseph himself. Okay. All right. I'm not opposed to it. I'm down. You know. Like I said, the best I can do is shoot the invite. Whether I get left on read or they say no, it is what it is. The point is, I made the effort, and that's all that matters to me. So whether they respond or not, or if they don't, they say they don't want to do it, then I just move on to the next person. That's how it goes. I don't, if it, we'll see what happens. If I could try to get Dragon Ball Joseph on here, I could try to get Dragon Ball Joseph on here. But yeah, I got a good idea for episode 8, but I'll definitely keep that in mind, Coach, for a future episode for sure. But thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Sir Retro, where can the good folks find you at?
Yeah, yeah, you can find me almost anywhere. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, SirRetro08, Instagram, SirRetro08. Um, of course, on here on Twitch.tv, Sir_Retro08. So wherever on social media you can look for me, you'll find me at some point in social media, even on TikTok, because I actually post stuff about the FTC, especially Street Fighter, and on TikTok, and that's actually been growing. Like I've been getting a lot of followers now for FGC stuff, which is really cool. So yeah, you can find me on there. I post and spread the word about the FGC everywhere I go.
Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, man, all the good pleasantries, the good news and good gospel out of the way, man. We want to, for of course, thank all of our viewers, our listeners too, as well, on this podcast for deciding to hang out with us on the 7-day evening. I know the CPT Midwest Finals are going on, and if you're like me, you got two sources of monitors up on your screen, so you catching both, you multitasking, and you're doing both at the same time. So you got the tech on lock, so you're not missing a beat on the action, and you're doing the podcast at the same time. So good stuff. Once again, thank you so much, Sir Retro, for the production on the ones and twos, working very hard behind the scenes, on and off the scenes, and I just appreciate you for doing all of this, and I just love to see the growth in community. 8 episodes, it was seven, excuse me, 7 episodes, and I'm just amazed that we're getting this far with the production, and the amount of viewers and supporters that are listening and checking us out. So I do appreciate that. So I might even do a big giveaway at the season finale, episode 10. So I'll get in talks with Sir Retro, and we'll coordinate something and make it happen, man. But that'll be a milestone for us. 10 episodes would be a blessing, man. But to hear from so many Georgia players, commentators, whatever whatever role you may have yourself within the community, I just love hearing it because everybody has a different experience on growing up in this scene and experiencing this scene. So I love to hear it, and I love to hear the story and knowledge that everyone can bring to the table. But with that being said, we're out the door. GG's. Thank you everybody so much for tuning in. Stay safe, and we'll catch you next time on episode 8.
Yep, definitely. So, like I said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Y'all guys have a great evening and be safe for sure. And soon I'm gonna put you guys over to Good Game TV, who actually does the promos for the Reboot Run It series. Shouts to him. So he doing some testing for some Beat Battle. So y'all guys check that out. I'll let you guys rate him for a bit and show him some love. But yeah, thank you, Coach, and MrAnnual, and thank you once again, Terrence, for y'all guys to come through.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, peace. You guys take care.